Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another Element event. We have a full weekend of competition ahead of us. Today is the first day. This is qualifier number 5, and I am back with my friend OSK. How are you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. You can see how beefy I got for this event here. I'm so huge and I'm ready for this next event. We have such a stacked event here today. Of course, we're playing 8 games in this qualifier. We got 10 teams competing for the prize of $30, 10 per person for that first place finish. And man, let's talk about these teams here. We got some of the best I've ever seen. We have, of course, everyone's favorite name, Flaming Dwagon on Team World Tier. Also, we got Team Wind Goes Burr with Ash and Frost, our very own, very crisp. And it's just Wolf. We got some Overdose on Outros. We got some old vets from the pre-alpha, Mr. Nigel, Nemo, and Dwerky here. Well, on Team C and T. Tell me about that team here. I haven't seen them play in forever, and I bet you have some good memories of those players.
Oh my God, we all have some good memories of those 3 players. I would say that they were some of the best in the game when they were constantly playing those matches. So it's exciting to see them back here today. We were talking about favorites to win today's qualifier before the event started. I picked CNT. I have faith in them to come out here and show everybody why they were the GOATs back in the day. I do think that they can come out, they can shake off all the rust and pop off. I know you have a little bit of a slightly different prediction. I do believe we both picked EU teams, which is a first for Element casting. So that's also, you tell me about your prediction though.
Yeah, definitely. So my prediction is going to be Wind Goes Burr. We have Ash and Frost, Chris, and Wolf, like we just said. And my main reason for this prediction is I had no idea just how much better they got since the last time I saw them. But about a week ago, I was watching scrims. I was actually practicing some scrims for casting, and I saw them with Team Haunt, and also Bastion was on the other team along with them as kind of a third party. They were utilizing the talent foresight to position themselves towards the outside part of the final circle and just third party that one last engagement to easily win. And they had won 3 scrim games in a row playing that strategy. And it's because of that innovation with the new talents that came out that I think that they're going to really do some damage. So like we said, that is my first pick. Of course, we got to talk about our pocket picks. And what better? I'm going to go ahead and choose World Tier here. I think mainly Flaming Dwagon is a beast on the solo side of things. I know that No Ace and Knack 3000, they're also very good players. I think that they're going to have enough coordination to at least make a good placing, if not some of the best placing that we're going to see today. What's your pocket pick, please?
My pocket pick is SDK, and this is another storyline. So actually, this event is full of all sorts of storylines, but this about
Yeah, it
SDK.
sure is.
This was the trio champion squad led by Top Ramen back in the day. They were undefeated. I believe it was 7 championships won by Top Ramen leading
Yeah.
SDK. Top Ramen has moved to Valorant, but it looks like the squad is back together. Player 2 is representing that team, bringing it back with Novon and the rest of his crew. I think that's going to be my pocketbook. I know they're all deadly players. I do think that there is a bit of potential for them to maybe fall behind due to how good some of these teams are, but there's a shot right there. I also wanted to talk about, though, because you mentioned the $30 winning for this event. The most important part is your qualifying score. Can you get a high enough TAC to get into the final event? And that is what really matters. We saw a qualifier a couple weeks ago when the second place team was still in a high position and they still were able to put themselves in a spot to maybe get into the finals. The $30 is nice, but the 1,500 is a lot nicer, OSK.
Yeah, it sure is. And that's another good point that you bring up, is that you do need to have that sort of high score to really make it into our top 10 teams. We play 8 qualifiers and only the top 10 are going to make it in. So there's really no margin for error that you can really comfortably fit in. Usually in solos, you're able to say, hey, I made the top 5. Maybe I'll go ahead and get that final event. There's a little bit of leeway for me. But no, we only have 10 slots for 8 qualifiers. So you better come out and perform. Even if you don't finish first, you better make it a close second or you're going to be out of luck. And we're seeing some of these close finishes. I know we had some in qualifier number 4 with the results that came out. We also had some really, really close finishes between 2nd through 4th place on qualifier number 2. So we're going to have to see which squads really are hungry for this win here and who's really going to show up to take the dub. So I have my picks. You have yours. And we have a brand new meta to work with. So I'm really, really interested to see where we'll be dropping today. Hopefully it'll be nice and spread out. Everyone gets their assigned places, but maybe you'll see some early action as well, as I'm predicting this might be a very, very aggressive qualifier number 5.
I'm excited to see how some of these teams, for example, C and T, come out to play, right? Because they haven't been in the
Mhm.
competitive for a while. And I actually don't know how their trio is going to come up as a squad. Are they going to, as you said, play aggressive off drop? Are they going to play for scorecard late game? It's interesting to see that dynamic build out. And while we wait a little bit longer for the first game to start, I want to mention one more team that I had on my mind. We have a full team from China, which is in element first. They are going to be playing on very high ping, but much respect to them for coming out on a different time zone and coming out to play today. So that is the LKS team. Keep that in mind as we go through here, as you keep watching these games. They are representing China, and that's always exciting to see, OSK.
Yeah, definitely. And while their names in game won't look too Chinese for you, we'll be keeping an eye on LKS Arthur, Merlin, and Lancelot. So keep that in your mind as we're looking through all these teams here. That Merlin, Lancelot, and Arthur are going to be from China, not exactly their medieval counterparts. So course, all these great teams coming out here. Man, SDK, such a storied team. It's going to be interesting to see if they can continue that legacy coming out. Like you said, we do have Top Ramen claiming it, the undefeated 7-time trios champion. And he was really back in the day as a pyro player, one of the only players that was really keeping pace with Kamsky at one point. And we know that he and Tfal nowadays are kind of far and beyond some of the best solo players that we've seen. Of course, them pairing up on Team UT, it's always great to see that coordination. You saw their dominant performance in qualifier number 1. So hopefully Team SDK today can go ahead and carry on that legacy. And I'm really, really, really interested to see. This is going to be the story for the entire event is will CNT bring back some of that old school glory that we saw back in pre-alpha? I know Dworky, we have in the element of VOD somewhere, a nice highlight reel of Dworky with us casting him, just tearing up 1v3ing some of these squads. And I know you remember which one I'm talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see if it can do something similar today with some of the new mechanics coming in. And we're going to get right into it here, starting with game number 1 of qualifier number 5. We're going to be hopping right into Nigel, Dworky, and Nemo. Would you look at that? Nice and looted up. Going to go into that Bogmore area and hopefully find a nice squad to exile early.
And look at this, they actually dropped quite spread out. So right off the bat, this is a note of confidence right here from the team. They do not feel like they have to drop right on top of each other to take an early fight. They feel confident enough to drop with some space, get some extra chests, and maybe even take a one-on-one, a one-on-two if it is necessary. That's something to keep in mind, as this is game 1 of 8, and we have to try to keep this in our brains as we see how this team decides to play the rest of these games out. Nigel goes for that ice in the offhand. That is quite expected. We got Dworky on the conduit and Nemo rocking Toxicologist. So this is going to be very cool to see this team come out. 36 people left. You can see in the kill feed there's a couple people dying, but none of them are tournament contestants. So the action will continue.
What a name coming out from Sir Moans a lot. Unfortunately, I think that's a fracture death. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but man, such a shame to see such a great name go out so early. But anyway, I want to talk about some of these builds here. We're going to see some throwbacks, I would imagine, to some of these pre-alpha strats that we saw way back in the day. Nigel rocking the fire and really looking for that pre-alpha speed that we all know and love from back in the day. Running Escapist along with Runic Fluency and Fervor. He's not really worried about any sort of sustain. He just wants to move quickly, dodge your incoming spells, and just get all of the damage that he can. That movement is going to be so crucial. It's going to be interesting to see who ends up playing the front line and who ends up playing the back line, or if we're just going full flex picks. I'm not really sure what the strategy is, judging on their classes here. I would imagine Dworky's going to be staying in the back. Usually he's a nice toxicologist, so maybe we'll see something a little bit different here today.
Yeah, I mean, that might tell you that Nemo must be a deadly toxicologist if they're able to pass it over from Dworky, because as you mentioned, we all know that Dworky is one of the top toxicologists, at least back when he was playing consistently. Interesting to see how this team dynamic is going to unfold. We mentioned it again. Maybe we can bounce over and look at some other squads, try to find some fights. It doesn't look like any team has picked up a 3v3 fight yet, but now we're looking over at LKS. This is the team from China that we mentioned in the pregame. So it's always cool to keep an eye on them. They do have that common wolf's blood, which is not the best you can imagine for Merlin as they rotate across the map. But OSK, LKS Merlin decided to run Foresight. Tell me a little bit about that pick.
Man, Foresight, I'm telling you guys, this is one of the sleeper overpowered runes that you guys need to pay attention to. This is the main reason that I actually picked Ashen Frost Chris and Wolf to win is because they're using it in such a way in late game scenarios to avoid getting third partied. And that's really what it is. It's the anti third party talent. Now we're going to get into a little engagement. We'll talk about Foresight a little bit later, as we have to talk about player 2 getting a nice disruption on Novus here, looking for a nice follow-up Frost. Won't find anything too quickly, but lining up the second, gonna barely miss. Now we have Novan and Blank following up on the front line. Let's see if they can take it, plays. It's gonna be close.
Yeah, they do need to finish this kill before a potential third party rolls up, and it looks like they get it right there. So the Exile drops. All 3 players from that team fall to SDK, and they take the first squad wipe of the event. Always nice to see momentum building. A knowledge potion actually goes to player 2 right there. That is so lucky for them. But now we get over to Small Chameleon's team with the rest of his squad as they roll up, trying to hit these shots. Small Chameleon is playing on the back foot, the back line, as you see Asmule roll up into the aggressive spot. He is rocking the Stone Shaper, Asmule, so this means that he gets that tankiness of benefit. Small Chameleon, though, just sitting off to the edge, doesn't want to fully commit to this fight. These opponents are just dancing, but the circle is closing, OSK. They have to be careful about their choice here.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting strategy we're seeing coming out of Small Chameleon here. He's rocking the Spell Slinger on Pyromancer with Lightning and a Frost. So he's looking to play the backline, I would imagine, but it's a little bit less of a powerful backline. That Lightning, while not on Conduit, is going to be just a little bit less effective than what it normally would, but it looks like the rest of his squad actually got taken out. That's unfortunate for him, as now we have No Ace and Flaming Dwagon just getting all of that juicy loot, and now we have our other hero over here just going to have to play for placement for the moment. That's just a really bad turn of events there, as now we have No Ace, Flaming Dwagon, and Neck going to go ahead and snowball that lead that we see here and maybe funnel in for a little bit of knowledge potion shenanigans.
Yeah, plenty of potions for them to drink as well, just to walk through this storm with no worries. They pick up 2 exiles for the team right there. This is massive for Team World Tier. Going up here with No Ace. He is, as you mentioned, a very great solo player. So is Flaming Dwagon. But we get over to Quados now, as he's taking some shockwaves, getting over onto the high ground, trying to find a pot. Escapist not helping him with his drink time, as his teammates are taking a lot of pressure here. Devised TTV is over there on the side, as Quatos is just trying to get a bit more effective HP to work his way back in the fight. Lightning comes down now. He repositions to the high ground. Nice teleport as he looks for this new angle. Nice shots coming down. Quados just doing so much work into this fight, trying to get the finish. His teammate Devised TTV is helping as well, but now he jumps up to the front side. Not enough to finish this kill, though. It's so close, but Quados can't quite finish it, OSK.
Oh, I'm barely living on literally 1 HP is Quados here. Going to have to reposition, get some quick heals off. Looks like he'll be okay for the moment. That was a great use of teleport early on, but didn't quite have the power to finish it out. Now he's going to have to rely on his other teammates. Man, this is looking very, very close. Quados positioning himself very, very well. That common belt's not really going to help him out too much, but these potions will. He'll stay out of the fight for now. Great rotation coming out from Team Hello Gamers. And now we're gonna be just defending this hill right here. Nothing can really come from any of the Stone Shapers in the lobby there. That hill's just a little bit too steep, as Quados is able to lay down a little bit of long range damage, but nothing really finishing out so far. Of course, in the kill feed, we're gonna have Team World Tier putting some damage onto our Chinese team here, Team LKS. And it looks like that's going to be a full squad wipe there in the kill feed, as you see. Now Quados going to be doing a great job of defending this zone. Although his gear isn't exactly where you would like it to be, maybe if they can get a quick exile, they'll catch up very quickly. We'll have to see how things play out, though.
Definitely a good idea to leave that situation, though. I mean, that fight took way too long. And with over 20 people still left in the game, the third party is something you have to play around. So it looks like that team decides to actually just peel out of the storm. Now we're watching Wind Goes Burr, your pick to win it today, OSK, and they look like they're in a great position. Very Crisp does have a bit of knowledge potion stacked up onto his lightning strike. You see him use one of them right there. Takes a quick teleport, loses track of exactly where he is, but now he turns back to the fight. Wolf is disrupted though by not blank, so it's SDK versus Wind Goes Burr on the side of this castle. Very Crisp takes another teleport, but now Ashen Frost is left all alone on the top side. They have to try to contest this area, but OSK, the third party must be expected here. The action will not stop, as Very Crisp has to try to fight off players in this castle. Player 2 takes down his own teammate Novon somehow, so it looks like that fight is breaking down. Ashen Frost has no armor left, and Chris is just watching from a distance here, doesn't want to engage. I'm not sure what the comms are, but he decides not to push it. Looks like Player 2 got third-partied, so maybe they just want to be patient, OSK.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that Chris has full knowledge of where all the enemies near him are with that foresight talent. So maybe he's seeing there's actually another fight going on the other side of this tower. Maybe he's saying we need a position over here, have Wolf climb through the zone, and look at that. Player 2 actually gets a little bit of a self-exile onto Novin there, and Snoopy Poopy going to take out player 2 along with Very Crisp cleaning up not Blank. So that's going to be a full wipe onto Team SDK. And that's the power of Foresight that we're seeing come out here. While we're talking about that, let's get on to Dwerky. He's going to go ahead and find himself a nice exile. We're getting into sort of the late game scenario here where we have 7 teams left that are currently up, and this is going to be a very, very close late game circle. This might get a little wild, but like I was saying earlier, Foresight, that's why it's so powerful. Chris is able to make his comms so much better with full knowledge of where everyone is that's close to him. So he's able to tell his team, hey, position over to the right side. We have 2 squads coming in from the left, and then Wolf can just go ahead and rotate out to get the free exile off. So he's going to end up with 3 teammates, or all 3 of those teammates coming back up for the late game. And that's really the power of what we're talking about here, the anti-third-party rune. You're seeing it in action, and it is something to behold.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a major advantage being able to dodge out of the way of a disadvantageous position. But now we see CNT pinching off another team. Speaking of disadvantageous position, CNT is looking to apply pressure as this team tries to roll through the circle. Something very interesting to watch while we have Dwerky's first player perspective is the way he uses line of sight. You see him crouching, ducking, moving behind all of these objects. Even when he doesn't see an attack coming, he's just preparing for ice shots. As look at him just pepper down this opponent, throwing out that lightning, making sure he can put on more pressure. These opponents are running away, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. CNT is just in a great spot here, dishing out damage. No Ace takes the kill as well, gets a nice exile for his team. So this one, as you said, OSK, there's so many people left in the circle. It looks like this one's going to come down to some crazy last circle shenanigans.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it'll be interesting to see how many knowledge potions each of these teams have, as you have to imagine there's got to be a little bit of funneling going on. We have the first case of that in Knack right here. You can see the count on his sorceries. He's been fed a little bit of knowledge. He has critical information, and he knows how to strike down those lightning bolts and also get those flame walls up. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him. We get a nice little stun and a beautiful blow up from Flaming Dwagon on the follow-up. That was so quick, as his opponent stood no chance. And look at that, we have a full exile coming out from Team World Tier. My Pocket Pit coming out, and they might just transition from the pocket out to the front line as they are coming out with something to behold here, as we have Ashen Frost cleaning up Corrupt right here. So all of my teams doing pretty well plays. I mean, I think I picked some good teams out here. Now CNT is still in the lobby, so I'll have to see how that plays out for you. But look at this positioning that Flaming Dragon and Team World Tier have position themselves at with this tower and also the hill to prevent any Stone Shapers from coming up. They have some beautiful positioning coming up.
I mean, I just love that rotation. They bump up to the side of the castle, literally blow up one target, and then back off to the side again without taking the pressure. That was so nice from Team World Tier. But now we're over to Wingo's Bird, who's in a bit less of a great spot. Very Crisp is down. As you see, Wolf is taking major damage as well. Ashen Frost just waiting in the wing, taking a quick pot. And look at the side. Wolf is just getting chased out of the castle. How are they going to recover here? Very Crisp does have a lot of time left on his timer, but he's got to make sure that he's careful with how he goes for this. You know that how hard you can get popped. And look at Nigel takes out Wolf. This is EU versus EU. CNT is applying the damage right now onto Wingo's Bird. Ashen Frost doing what he can to get the res, looking for it now. Wolf doesn't get picked up though. Instead, Ashen Frost gets jumped on, and you have to imagine that's Nemo from CNT on the Toxicologist. Ashen Frost is down to just flesh walking through the side of this castle. He will find a very nice pot spot, but OSK, this is a disaster for Wingo's Bird.
Yeah, but you have to see in the kill feed there, Knack is taking out Nigel, so that's Team World Tier going to interrupt this little engagement here. Lanky Sea Moose going to go ahead and take out Very Crisp, but Ashen Frost on the backside going to go ahead and take him out as well. Now we have Ashen Frost, the lone gamer. Very Crisp is fully exiled, and it looks like Dwerky, something went on there. I'm not really sure what finished out there. I didn't get it from the kill feed. So Dwerky got Lanky Sea Moose, Ashen Frost got Yogel, but I'm not sure what happened to Ashen Frost at the very end there. So maybe we'll have to see it in the results coming out. That's a little bit confusing for me. But now we have a final circle situation. Dwerky's getting chunked out, and so unfortunate for him. I have to imagine Nemo is in a similar situation. As look at that, he's just trying to get all the health that he can. He has to make it to this final circle, and there's not very many people left. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him. Oh, it's going to be coming so close.
That disrupt onto Dwerky was just heartbreaking, though. You saw him get caught up on the side, tried to shadow step again, and got caught once again on the terrain. Now we see Nemo, the last player for CNT. He does go down. Knack 3000 gets the finish as we see both other members died to the storm. Knack 3000 now trying to do as much as he can. 5 people left in the game. This is still a full team of 3. They should be able to end the game here. This one should go to Team World Tier as long as they can get the straggler down. Knack 3000 is the camera angles. You see him with that lightning try to finish it off. One more to go. No Ace does get disrupted, but Flaming Dragon is full HP, and Ashen does fall to Knack 3000. So the final 3 placement ended up being CNT, Wind Goes Burr, and World Tier in the first place. But nonetheless, OSK, tell me about what we saw in that final circle. A little bit of chaos, a little bit of unexpected action, seeing Dwerky go down in the storm. That changed the whole complexion of the final circle.
Oh, it definitely did. That very terrain of that Balgmore area is definitely something to behold there, as you saw. Maybe just a little bit of a lack of initiative to try to get in that final circle. Maybe he wasn't quite expecting the full damage coming out. It does like 30 HP a tick, so you got to be really careful with that sort of late game scenario. It's just a little bit lack of positioning from Team CNT. Now, we have to keep in mind, though, that we are only taking the best 6 games out of the 8 that we're playing here today. So maybe if theoretically they can put this one behind them, they can do well in these next few games, and they can just make that completely irrelevant. So I think that this was a good gauge of where they're standing here. They still got it, obviously, as we can see here. They're putting out some great damage, some great exiles, getting some great rotations coming out. Just the late game needs a little bit of polishing, but that shouldn't be too much trouble for them. But I want to talk about Team World Tier here. That was my pocket pick, and honestly, I did not expect them to win that game, to be completely honest. Flaming Dragon is just proving what a force he is here on the squad side of things. We know him from solos. He's one of the best names to say live on the casting desk. But man, such beautiful gameplay to watch as well. And great job from Ashen Frost from Team Wind Goes Burr to sort of survive that last little bit. He caught me off guard there. I thought he died in the tower, but he ended up staying alive just long enough to get that second place placement. And that's going to be huge coming into these next 7 games place. Absolutely
yeah, that makes
huge.
a massive difference right there, getting that extra little bit of placement. But also I wanted to talk about World Tier, because sometimes in BR, a win can be deceiving. The way that the final circle goes, a team can take a W off of just a crazy third party. But that was not the case. World Tier was out there putting in work into multiple fights. They were dictating the pace of the final circle. Major credit to that team from the first place. It was well deserved. World Tier starting off hot in this tournament. Definitely your pocket pick coming out to play in game 1. We got 3 more games until the halftime break. These 3 will be played on NA, and then we'll move over to EU. Interesting to say that about going over to EU, because 2 EU teams were in that final top 3, and you have to imagine that they'll play even better once the ping goes down.
Absolutely. That's always something to keep in mind here. Now, we do see this little phenomenon where people sometimes play better on their off region for whatever reason. I have no idea what is happening whenever that happens, but I don't think that's going to be the case today. I think that these players are solid no matter what ping that they're on. As long as it's not over 500, I think we'll be just fine. So Team CNT, Team Wind Goes Burr, definitely someone to look out for, but Team World Tier, making themselves known in their home region nice and early on. You always love to see it. Now, it'll be interesting to see, because we saw great team coordination from Team World Tier here. We saw early on that we had a quick stun coming out from Knack 3000, quickly followed up by the rest of his teammates to completely blow up a person. So we're going to have to see if that coordination can really carry them through the rest of these 3 games on NA. Be interesting to see what they're looking like on their off server on EU. But coming into this game too, I really want to see some fireworks early on. I think it was a little bit slow to start out with, but I think that now that players have gauged their competition, maybe we can try to find out where these guys land last time. Maybe we can match it. Maybe we can get them off the board a little bit early and really make up for some lost traction there in game 1. We'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this game is always a choice of pace. When the first map arrives and you can look at the portals, it is up to your team to dictate immediately what the game plan is. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach it. As you mentioned, that game 1 was a very slow start. I don't think we saw a single squad wipe until SDK took a set of kills about after the first circle had already started closing. That is certainly not the standard. It was a very slow-paced match. hoping to see that change in game two. Honestly, I'm expecting to see that change. Usually the pace of the games pick up as the matches continue, as the players get unlocked, as they say, as they get unrusted for the morning, they start to play a little bit more aggressive, but we'll see what happens right here. Definitely, I know CNT must be thinking to themselves, that was a heartbreaker. That was our game to win. I know as players, they have confidence. So it's unfortunate to see that go down on Dorky. You saw him got stuck on the bottom of the bridge. He tried to shadow step out of it again and got caught on the pixel. Such a tragedy. Hopefully they can turn that around. You also mentioned the concept of throwaway games. So that is something to talk about. These players aren't under complete pressure right now to perform because they know they have 2 matches to give up.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, I feel like this is a great opportunity for CNT to really pay attention to some of the strategies that are coming out in today's meta, especially with the new knowledge potions that came in from 1.2. We saw this a little bit from Team SDK and Player 2 early on in the game, where I think it was Player 2 that had Toxicologist, and all of the knowledge potions that they had found up to that point were basically being funneled into him to sort of make him a powerhouse on Shadow Step Outbreak and Vanishing Mist Outbreak sort of scenarios. So that's one of the strategies you got to look out for, and I think they're going to pick up on it very quickly. And it's going to be interesting to see how they can adapt to sort of the new style of play. Now, we are seeing, speaking of new style of play, 2 teams running Foresight here, both of them EU, Team CNT and Team When Goes Burr. And I'm going to be talking about this all day today with Foresight. It gives you such an unmatched ability to rotate your team in a position to where they can avoid as much damage as possible, and you can let your backline players with their long range options just sort of deal residual damage and sometimes seal out exiles. So with that power of rotation, it's going to be really interesting to see how not only they position themselves to get that sort of free damage, or how players will play around it once they see a team start to rotate out. Maybe they can say, maybe they're noticing another team coming from behind us, or maybe they're just faking and they're trying to get away from this fight. So we'll have to see how these strategies sort of evolve over time. But today is going to be a really, really telling story of that sort of thing.
I mean, it's interesting, right? You bring up Foresight and how it allows players to dictate their rotations more clearly. And then we also talked about how the start of the game was slower. There's a chance that the addition of Foresight and the presence of it as teams start picking it up more and more leads to a slower early game, because these teams obviously do not want to fight when they don't have the ideal loot. Generally, when you're a very good team in Spellbreak, you want to make sure that you have at least a baseline of loot, because you don't want to get cheesed. You don't want to drop a game just because you didn't have a belt to fight. So it's very interesting, that point you bring up about Foresight seeing more and more presence and how these games start at a slower and slower pace. We'll see if that shifts in game 2. We are just waiting a little bit longer. And here it is. I call it on the dot. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. We got Team Bots right here. This is Connor Bot looking for a bit of damage, throwing out some Toxic. His teammate Asmule takes the drop onto Professor Goose. And we got to imagine that that's a bot looking at that name right there.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what's not a bot is Team LKS. They're going down very early to Team CNT. That's the aggression I wanted to see out of game 1, and it looks like CNT have found their footing. They already get a full squad wipe, so you better be on the lookout. It looks like 1 exile apiece, as Player 2 is also getting into some early engagements with Team SDK. And look at that. He goes ahead and finishes up the entire rest of that squad. So you got to imagine these players are coming out to get all the exiles they can, all the damage they can on that scorecard. And Player 2 is really feeling himself right now. That's some beautiful stuff coming out from them.
Certainly a much faster early game compared to the first match of the day. We got 2 squad wipes already right off the bat. Interesting to see. And Player 2, as you mentioned, coming out with that Toxicologist on fire. Maybe being on that Toxicologist panel the other night gave him that found confidence to start popping off in these games. We don't know for sure, but we'll see as the rest of this develops. Team Bots has decided to take this Mana Vault. Always nice to secure this type of legendary loot early in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is the play, actually. And it's also very, very interesting because I'm going to be talking about Foresight all day, and there's no way it can make me stop. So Foresight is also able to make you see those future zones, and also where future mana vaults are going to be coming in. So it's a beautiful snowballing tool. Not only can you avoid early fights as well as late game fights, but you can go ahead and find out where this next piece of legendary loot is going to go ahead and spawn out. And I think it's just such an advantage for all these teams to really utilize it the way that they are. Now we're seeing a little bit of an interesting build here coming out from Wolf here. We have Frostborn able to go ahead and make you get a little bit more speed out from the Frost Gauntlet, but we can't ignore Nigel any longer. He is going to take a little bit of damage here. Escapist really helping that run speed, going to help him escape off to the rest of his team. He's actually very spread out from the rest of his team here. They're thinking maybe we can do sort of what UT was doing and split off, take squads on our own, spread out and get all this loot going, but we can see he is getting a little bit punished for it. So this rotation coming in on the ladder side of things, he goes ahead and spots out someone on the tower there to the right hand side of your screen. So we'll have to see how these rotations coming out. Looks like they are going to go ahead and group up, and they might be looking to engage here in about the next 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, this Halcyon Cathedral area actually has a shocking amount of loot. Some players don't realize that you can get yourself fully kitted up in this top area. So CNT making that secondary rotation after getting the first squad wipe of the game, decided to secure just a little bit more loot. Nigel will get that blue belt you see popped up on the ping. So they all do have their blues. This is generally a set that players look for. Once you have all blues, you have enough confidence to fight, maybe take an extended scrap. And we see Nigel may have spotted out a player. He did, trying to get the first snipe to open it up. Doesn't quite land it, though, blocked by that top obelisk. And now Nigel just looking for a new shot or angle. I don't know if the opponent has spotted Nigel or knows exactly where the shots are coming from. We see in the kill feed, though, Ashenfrost does take down Connorbot, and the rest of the team will fall. So Win Goes Burr takes a full squad wipe onto Team Bots.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And we know that they're not really bots, guys. It's just their team name. But Small Chameleon, Asmul, and Connorbot just not enough in the tank to take out Win Goes Burr this time around. Maybe we'll see something a little bit different in game 3 or game 4. But for today, Win Goes Burr is really just showing themselves up here. Really just playing the best that I've ever seen them play, honestly. And now we have Team SDK here rotating around towards the Stone Tooth Mountain area of the map here. And they might actually run into Team CNT at one point. They are just a little bit to the right of where they are currently positioned. They are keeping an eye on that Halcyon area as well, knowing that teams like to group up there, loot up, and then rotate out towards the Stone Tooth Mountain area, rotating into the zone on the southeastern side of that mini-map. And honestly, Not Blank is in a really good position here. He has some epic loot. He's already almost fully talented up. And with Conduit on that lightning, you know he can do so much damage. Now we see Ashenfrost actually lining up a few snipes here. Free damage for him today. And now looking for the final shot. Gonna miss that one, but gonna miss that one as well. Just land up some wind damage. There you go. Easy stuff. Wolf gonna go ahead and take the kill from him, but Ashenfrost gonna be quickly following up with some Tempest action. There's a nice snipe. Now looking for the finish. And it's going to be very quick here. Just a little bit of wind spam will do it. Not going to take it just yet. It's a little bit of a scuffed interaction there, but I believe he'll get it on the ladder side right here. There it is. There's the finish. Team Win Goes Burr going to take out Recklessness RSA and Bullet Train 90. And now on another squad. The action just does not stop. Snoopy Poopy going to go down. The Wolf as well. And now we're getting some big action coming in on this mid-game. There's no mid-game lull today. Play safe, as it looks like Win Goes Burr is just eating today.
Yeah, that was 2 full squad wipes taken by Win Goes Burr. They have to feel confident about that. 4 kills on Ashenfrost. He got into a bit of a jam for a second there. He saw multiple teams collapse on him, but he did get out of it. Now we see Not Blank and the rest of SDK. Looks like they're in a bit of a scrap. Devised TTV falls to player 2, and also Dwerky gets the exile onto Recklessness. But now he's just watching Not Blank try to get up front. Player 2 will exile Corrupt, so that's going to be a nice little bit of extra score for SDK. Not Blank now going through the side of the building, still tracking this player, trying to get the last hits. Has focused mana fully stacked, so you know Not Blank is going to be able to drop some bursts if he can find a player potting in a corner. Novon takes the exile credit for Devised TTV, and it looks like SDK will clean that one up. The rest of the team got away, but SDK did manage to get what they wanted out of that one. A bit of damage, a bit of exiles, and no third party coming down on them.
Yeah, Team SDK really just having such a great showing here in Game 2. I know Player 2 was really taking it to some of these early squads here with some solo exiles coming out from him specifically. So it's good to know that he is following it up here into the mid game. It's going to be great to see if they can carry this on into the late game. Lanky Simu's going to go ahead and land off a little bit of residual damage, looking to follow up, interrupt the shield, but it's not going to work as the flash freeze will block all the damage. Now, maybe you'll just be looking to reposition along with your teammates here. Teammates are a little bit distracted, looking towards the eastern side, laying off some frost damage. And Lanky Simu is going to go ahead and rotate off to the southern side, saying this fight isn't quite worth it. We're a little bit out of position. Let's rotate off, get into the next zone, and then we can follow up with a few exiles at a later date. But we're going to have to see how the rest of these teams kind of rotate out. We know that they're going to be towards the northeastern side, maybe another Bogmore scenario, maybe a little bit more to the north of it. We'll have to see how this zone ends up. But Ouchers and Mancy, along with Sharp Cheddar, in a bit of an engagement here. We'll have to see how that goes for them, as they are kind of hiding in this tower a little bit.
Yeah, they are waiting for their moment to pop out of here and maybe take an engagement. Ouchers is just waiting in the wings with that pyro. Look at the amount of boulders he has. So the burst is there for him. Misses a couple straight fireballs, and the opponent jumps right onto him. Has to burn both spring step charges. He does still have the sorceries ready and prepped, throwing them out now. Only 2 boulders left in the pocket. Ouchers not being too patient with those sorceries, just trying to get as much pressure out as possible. Looking at the score now, there's 19 people left, including this team of 3. So we have to expect a major set of fights in the center of this circle. There's so many players rolling into the final area, and now we got Ouchers and his team taking control of this castle once again. Looks like it was abandoned by that front side, so Ouchers just taking some deep fireballs, trying to see what he can land. His teammate Mancy gets chunked out from his armor, though. Now we get to a new angle. Not Blank takes out Ouchers. That is such a quick perspective change, as STK is the killer in that situation. Now Not Blank does get a potion. Focused mana fully charged, as we mentioned earlier. That damage is going to be insane if he can keep it up. Also, this close quarters area is so advantageous for that fire offhand with Conduit. You can burst players down so quickly in those types of situations.
Yeah, and especially if you can get a quick power surge off from the Lightning Strike sorcery, that's going to be huge for their team here. Now, while we're looking at this fight fold out here, keep an eye on the kill feed there. We did see Sharp Cheddar take out Knack 3000 for a disruption. So Team World Tier, a little bit on the back foot for right now. Maybe they got him up by now, but we'll have to keep an eye on how they sort of rotate out towards the Bogmore area, as we were seeing earlier. We do know that it was Team Overdose that was getting that sort of early damage off. That was actually Ouchers team, so maybe they're a little bit split up. I'm not really sure where World Tier would be at this point, but we're switching off to Team CNT, looking to see if they can get any sort of residual damage off. Looks like there is a little bit of funneling going on onto Nemo here, the focus mana, but 2 charges of Shadow Step will definitely do him some good. The Flash Freeze, of course, always ready to be popped. Flaming Dragon, though, Team World Tier in a little bit of an engagement themselves, a little bit on the lower side with the health, but Flaming Dragon repositioning perfectly for no ace, and he's going to be looking to deal all the damage on this team. Unfortunately, gets a little bit unlucky with the collision, and now just looking to heal up, just ready for round 2.
Yeah, they are just trying to get a little bit more HP and armor back because they took a bit of a bad fight. 19 people still left in this game, so that's interesting to note. All of this talking that we've done, and nobody has actually been exiled in the past minute and a half. Flaming Dragon is doing what he can to drop some boulder damage. Not a lot going on for him. The rest of his team is doing a really good job, though, of staying compact, staying tight, and making sure they don't lose anybody off the stragglers. Flaming Dragon finds an angle, but doesn't actually get too much damage off before the opponent teleports away. Flaming Dragon spots out a Frostborn, though, or somebody on the wings, trying to get the damage that he can. Look at that burst coming out to the opponent, 25 with the boulder, and he is flesh. Flaming Dragon goes on the aggressive now, getting right up into this opponent team, throwing down with this Toxicologist as well. Nice dodge with the dash rune. Flaming Dragon showing off his mechanics here, as No Ace does get disrupted, though. Now he has to return, as they did get third-partied by a new squad. Flaming Dragon may have gone too far forward, OSK. His team is in dire straits right now.
That is true, but Flaming Dragon keeping himself a little bit calm here. I'm actually a little surprised he isn't really doing anything too rash here. He's calmly walking up, getting damage where he can. He knows he can't really do too much without sacrificing, but we do have Knack 3000 on the pickup for No Ace. We do have this team rotating in towards his other 2 teammates here, but that's beautiful. Taking out all of the shield on one of those teammates coming out, laying down a little bit of defense for those Frostborns. Look at this, the team coordination, just completely protecting this area from that frost that is looking to snipe them through their skull here. But I mean, look at the coordination here. They are doing a great job of getting all healed up. Flaming Dragon has never been in sort of a tight spot here. His shield has been very, very healthy, and it looks like that security from him is translating over to his team very nicely. We'll have to see how the late game plays out here, but CNT going to be down a member into Nigel, and that's going to be a frozen Nemo, but no follow-up on the freeze. So a little bit lucky on his part there, looking to land a Frost, but looks like Dworky and Nemo are okay for the moment. Going to have to rotate off to their down teammate. Now we have Flaming Dragon a little bit in a worse scenario here. It is going to be just the lone hero. Gonna try. No, not even close, plays. Don't even. He knows what he's doing, I promise you. But now looks like he's gonna be caught out into the fissure here, but he is doing a little bit worse for the wear right now. If he can rotate off towards the rest of his team, that would be great, but there are 3 squads in the area, and unfortunately, I don't know that's going to be enough. He is going to go down to Team SDK on Novin there, and now we have Team Wind Goes Burr taking out the rest of it looks like Team World Tier. Yeah, that was his team. I forgot his team name for a second. But Wind Goes Burr is still in this lobby here. We'll have to see how they can rotate out with that foresight that we like to talk about all the time. And this high ground that they are holding is going to pay them some great dividends coming out in this 3v3v3 scenario.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, SDK just has to try to get that high ground back. They do it just now, and now they're looking to actually advance their position. Novon dropping some fireballs, but Not Blank is getting so low. He is disrupted by Very Crisp, and look at Novon getting swarmed by 3 players. Player 2 does get a nice disrupt on the Wolf. We have our perspective on the Novon, who's moving to the top side now. Just one more shot to do it. Can the ice land? Misses just barely, and now he's going to have to try to fight these players head on. This is a 3v3v3 as far as we can tell, and now player 2 gets another disrupt, this time on the Very Crisp. Novon comes to help out his teammate, but player 2 is just so low. Novon with a beautiful firewall, and player 2 follows it up with a disrupt. Can SDK 2v2 the rest of this game as they see the rest of this team roll up in front of them? Novon getting so low, trying to flick with the fire, moving out of the way, using the bush to break line of sight. Novon does get space for a pot. That is huge in this final situation. Player 2 looks like he did get some regen as well. SDK looking to take it so low here. This should be a 2v1, and he might be able to get the final kill, but both players on SDK are down to just flesh.
Man, it's going to be so crucial for Novin to land these frosts. He hasn't landed one yet, but he needs to if he's going to turn this fight. That's a beautiful fireball, though. That is the win. That is Team SDK going to go ahead and take game 2, and what a turnaround. That was a great comeback from Novin and Player 2. Player 2 got so low at one point, 20 HP, but it doesn't matter if you can pack the damage. All the heals are coming out, and all the damage is coming out. Player 2 Novin, again, taking game number 2 in really a convincing fashion. That was some beautiful mechanics that we just saw.
Yeah, but honestly, though, I can't quite say it was convincing. That was so close. The fact that Novon and Player 2 managed to separate to get potions was huge. And now you guys can see the replay once again. Look at how low Novon is. Recovery giving him so much HP back as he's just trading with this one. We did see him miss multiple ice shots, but the fire at the end is all that matters. One more look at it. So satisfying to see that one plant right in. SDK winning game 2 after World Tier took game 1, and yet another exciting game. These matches are so even, OSK.
Yeah, I would have to say they are pretty even. We're seeing a different sort of final 3 scenario kind of every game at this point. I know it's only 2, but we'll have to see if anything kind of solidifies itself as far as who is the clear front runner. Right now, I couldn't name one for you, honestly. I mean, these teams are looking, like you were saying, so evenly matched, and really, it's just a matter of who has the better rotations in the late game. We did see Team Wind Goes Burr take that high ground. It really did some great stuff for them. Of course, they were a little bit silent in the early game, just a little bit. I would have liked to see a little bit more action from them. But SDK, what a game that they're having. That was some great stuff from start to finish. We saw early exiles, mid-game exiles, and of course the late game win coming out for them. That's going to be huge for their scorecard in this event.
Yeah, that is massive right there. And as I'm watching this replay on the other screen, I'm noticing just how much work player 2 put in right there. I mean, he disrupted 2 players with no help at all. His teammate was disrupted. Novon was looking for a potion that ended up being a huge turning point. I mean, if Novon didn't get that pot off, he would have died. So to see player 2 just putting that work in a 1v2, that is the game-changing play, in my opinion, right there. The turning point of the match to take SDK's win in game 2. And as you said, I don't think there's any clear front runner here. press exclamation mark scores in the chat if you guys want to see how the scores are lining up themselves. But I can't make any clear predictions about who's going to take this event, because also in the wings, as we talk about SDK, Win Goes Burr, World Tier, C&T is still playing great Spellbreak right now. They're not playing poorly. It is just a couple unfortunate scenarios that don't get them in the final first place finish. So this is so close. It's not just a 1 or 2 team race. This is a massive competition.
Yeah, but I want to point out this, that the fact that it's a close race right now with 2 of our EU teams on their off server, you have to imagine that once we get into the second half of things on the EU server, that things are going to shake up a little bit. Maybe C&T and Win Goes Burr will come out and really pull themselves out in front. But for right now, SDK and Team World Tier really holding down the NA side of things. And I have to think currently in the current state of things with these games in NA, I would have to think player 2 might just be the best person in the lobby right now. And honestly, with that performance that we saw in the late game where he's doing most of the damage despite being at half HP, I mean, I don't think you could really make a convincing argument otherwise. Maybe you can correct me, but I think it's sealed at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, so far in 2 games in, I would definitely give the MVP award to player 2, but there's so many games left to be played. And I really do think in this game, there's all sorts of players with that pop-off potential. I mean, I think personally, Ashen Frost is one of those players that can just have a stunning performance. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him there in the 1v2 at the end of the game. That could have been a nice clutch, but it wasn't quite meant to be. But it's not just Ashen Frost. I think any player on C&T can have a pop-off performance. I think the MVP trophy for this qualifier number 5 is still up for grabs. I do agree with you, though. Player 2 is certainly making a case for himself.
Man, that game, I'm just thinking how many exiles he had that game. He had to have at least, what, 6? At least?
10.
Yeah, it was 10. Wow. That actually blew my expectation out of the water. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. I mean, you do have all these coordinated squads coming out, but you have to keep in mind that if one player can carry the rest of your squad, that's also going to be a great boon to you. So, we'll have to see how game 3 shakes out. It is coming to you here very soon. But tell me about these sort of team rotations here. I know we saw some earlier action in qualifier number 2. I would have to imagine that sort of trend is going to really continue as we go in, because now that the players have really felt out their competition, I think that we're really going to start seeing a bit of a need for some higher damage and higher exiles, given how tight the race has to be to get into that finals event.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to start seeing teams experiment a little bit more with their drops. We did see C&T actually make a pretty big adjustment on their drop from game 1 to game 2. Going to be interesting to see how these other teams approach it. I mean, players like SDK probably are going to stick to the same drop. We tend to see the winning team just keep on running it back. You know what I mean? If it works once, don't change it. You see them kind of maybe whipping out that same type of play. You saw them take an early fight. So did C&T. Those are the types of plays we can expect from these teams who expect to win it themselves. If you have the confidence, you will make those types of plays. You will look for those windows, because you're not even worried about waiting till late game. You're trying to get points now. That's the only way that things like player 2 10 bombs can happen. You need to be fighting almost consistently throughout the game. That's how you get those big matches. And we do consistently talk about the 2 throwaway games. So for anybody who's maybe newer to our events, we play 8 games total. The top 6 scores get counted and the bottom 2 get thrown away. That is a massive change on how these players approach the game, because once you get a couple good games under your belt, you can start looking for insane pop-offs, knowing that you have a game to throw away.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of why I like our little format here. Not to toot our own horn too much, but I really do like that we have that sort of safety that you have with the 2 throwaway games, that you're not afraid to sort of try to pop off a little bit. Maybe you can test yourself a little bit. We call it limit testing in the league community, where you can just sort of go crazy a little bit, knowing that, hey, this game maybe doesn't matter as much. I can see just how far I can go. And maybe if you're a little bit lucky, you make all the plays that you should. And like we always say, some that you shouldn't. So I think player 2 really showed that up in game number 2. Going to see who's the next to step up to the plate to really get that pop-off game going. Again, qualifier 3 coming at you very, very soon. And I really have to talk about some of these strategies that are coming out from these squads. I know I talked about foresight, but now I wanted to talk to you about finders keepers funneling. And I think you've been seeing it here in scrims and also in the past 2 qualifiers plays. What is if I am the tank, okay, if I'm the primary tank, whether I'm a pyromancer or stone shaper, and I have finders keepers on sort of my fill for the body talent, I mean, you got to be thinking there is a reason why you're running finders keepers over dexterity. You definitely want to be funneling your knowledge potions over to your toxicologist, who is your real flex pick. He can really do some big damage as long as you keep everyone distracted. What are your thoughts on this funneling strategy we're seeing coming out?
I definitely think it's the way to go. I mean, now that we have knowledge potions in the game, you guys see how they're pushing all potions to toxicologists and stone shapers. We know that the interaction right there is the amount of burst you can put out with those classes. I do think there's a place in the meta for finders keepers, especially in trios when you feel like you have the mechanical ability to not need fervor as much. It does show a little sense of confidence in the fact that you know you don't need that combat talent. You can instead just run something that gives you that passive increase. And it's very interesting to see it actually come out. Something to note, though, is we haven't seen knowledge potions last to the final circle. We've always seen
Yeah.
knowledge potions need to be burned in the mid-game fights. We haven't seen anybody drop 8 outbreaks for the final fight. So players are getting pressure applied to them before it gets to the final zone. They're not just able to freely walk into that last 10.
Yeah, that's a very important point that you make up. That maybe yes, you can go ahead and funnel, but it isn't going to last all the way to the late game. So it's interesting to see, like if you're being pressured hard enough, obviously you don't want to give up your life and then lose all your knowledge stacks to try to keep it for the late game if you know you're going to die early on. So that is a very important point that you bring up. That we'll have to see how that plays out here in qualifier number 3. We'll have to see how these strategies are unfolding. We're on to one of our teams here, Team Overdose, gonna take Banehelm for themselves. Not really a very popular area that we see a lot of players go to, so excellent choice to get some very, very early loot. I would have to imagine that they do have a funneler on their team, trying to find all of the knowledge potions that they can and feed it over to Sharp Cheddar, looking very, very sharp with that toxicologist class there. So we'll have to see how things play out. Not too much going on in the early game unless your team LKS taking out Team C&T early. Talk to me about that plays. That is huge coming out of game 3.
I was just going to mention that right there. That is a massive turn in game 3 that guarantees that C&T now has to use one of their throwaway games in this game 3 setup, and it puts LKS in a nice spot to get this game started. Now we're looking at Mancy and the rest of his team as they loot up. Small Chameleon and the bot squad does take a full squad wipe, but it looks like world tier is now onto them as Small Chameleon falls to no ace, and Mancy's just going to use the teleport to continue moving around the map. But yes, a very action-packed early game, and that's definitely a monumental moment to see C&T fall. Now we're about to see the end of Team Bots as Connor Bot is getting chased down. Flight Rune comes off cooldown just in time to get a little bit of space, but he's getting peppered by the lightning. Moving off to the back now. Nice S-key with the quick toxicologist, but he is still so in trouble. OSK, he should fall for sure, and that is a drop for Team World Tier. Nice quick early game, but they got to watch out for the third parties. It breaks down right in front of them. Knack 3000 now trying to do what he can to find some high ground away from the Stone Shaper. Luckily, nobody on their team has fallen quite yet, and they should be able to reposition in time to take on the third party.
Yeah, and I think you have to give big credit to Knack there for using his wind on the toxic cloud to not only create toxic gas, but to make it such a harder time for Connorbot to get back in for his vanishing miss. And that's what I think really sealed out that fight. That was some beautiful stuff. Now Knack finding himself on the rooftop here and also a little bit further away from the action. Look at the long range pressure he's putting down, allowing Flaming Dragon to clean up onto LKS Merlin. Now we have a bit of a similar situation with Arthur. One more member of the round table to go, and it looks like No Ace is on him right now in deciding fashion as well. This is going to be a quick cleanup. I can feel it here. Knack on the long range pressure. Going to be repositioning for a little bit of a better view. No Ace with the hard push. We'll have to see if a third party comes in, but for right now, I think they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, they are getting themselves right in front of LKS here, but they do have to be careful about a third party. They are pushing very far into new territory. Don't know for sure if another team is over there looting up. They could get into a bad spot. I mean, No Ace has no armor left, and they don't want to get too out of position. They do finish the kill onto LKS Liar, so they will have a nice squad wipe, and they can return back to their business of looting. Already, though, Knack 3000 has some very great loot, just needs the amulet to kind of wrap up the rest of his build. And we are down to less than 30 people already in the game. These matches are picking up pace as they continue, OSK.
Yeah, it's really good to see too. I mean, I really like some early action. I like to see some of these squads kind of try to outplay each other despite not having ideal loot. But speaking of ideal loot, look at how Team World Tier is feeling with all this loot going around here. We're seeing nothing but blues and purples, those rare and epics, and I would have to imagine they're looking for some more engagements pretty quickly, as you can really push this early advantage very, very hard. And it's something that you see a lot of times in public lobbies with these coordinated teams that sometimes come in. And it's also a very viable strategy in competitive lobbies as well. Now we have Novan trying to spot out any looters on the Mana Vault. It's a very, very popular strategy. If you can spot out a scroll to see if someone's going to stop by and try to read up, and then you can have sort of a free snipe to engage from that sort of things. But it looks like no one's going to take the bait. There are, in fact, no scrolls on the Mana Vault, so all cleaned up. And now we have Team SDK going to take control of the Stone Tooth Mountain area. It is a great place to sort of lay down all of your damage, and now we spot out. Looks like there is going to be a little bit of a fight on top of this mountain, and they'll have to just sort of rotate off towards this area with the towers here. I do not know if it has an actual name, this place to the west, but that would be the ideal place south of Grutfield there.
Yeah, he did try to take some shots onto the opponent with fortitude. You know how that interaction works. If you land that shot, it makes no difference. His opponent had full confidence just peeking over that corner, but SDK is going to make the decision to just rotate here. Looks like a bit of a mid-game lull may have started. Oops, Novan hits his teammate with the firewall, unfortunately enough, but they still will get out of this one with their lives, waiting for maybe a rotation to pull up to the backside of them. SDK, though, just waiting on this high ground. Nice positioning as they just try to get themselves in a good spot to take this fight. Looking at that, Novan does hit the snipe. Not sure if it no-regged onto the top, but he did land it. And 28 people left in the game means that we have action coming, OSK. We know there's multiple people rotating into this zone.
Yeah, and speaking of action, we haven't really seen very much of it since Team World Tier took out LKS, so this is a nice change of pace coming out. We do see Knack going to go ahead and take out Vorm there. Have to see if he's actually in our lobby. I don't believe he is. I don't see a Vorm on our list, so that might just be a little bit of a random squad. But Team SDK, I want to see who this man is running Fortitude, because that is another sleeper strategy that I do hope gets a little bit more love. I do think that it does have its place in the current meta, but it looks like player 2 is saying, I disagree, as I'm just going to punch it off and then get this player out of my lobby. Snoopy Poopy on my little Pog Champs going to be disrupted, and now it's just one more teammate to go. Laying down the flash freeze, but it's not going to be enough, as we do have a little bit of damage coming out. That's going to be Not Blank taking out Pay Rick 1003. And that is Team SDK with another beautiful mid-game engagement. We'll have to see how that plays out into the late game, but they're looking pretty dang good. Getting on to squad number 2 here. Just another day in the office.
Got to be careful, though. They are in the middle of the storm, so yeah, although player 2 does get the disrupt, they have to make sure they don't get caught in a bad spot. Knack 3000 gets another kill, this time onto Red Assassin in the kill feed. SDK will get out of the circle, but now they have to try to retake this high ground. Player 2 is low as well. You see Novan just moving up to the ground now, looking to maybe hit a frost snipe, doesn't get that angle, hits a fireball instead, doesn't get his firefly to proc through the wall, but he's still just pushing forward nonetheless, getting right up into this player's face. One more fireball will do it. Huckafere does fall. Novan gets the kill, and we're almost down to 19 players as player 2 gets an exile of his own as well. So this lobby, although it does have many teams left, the fights are still coming at a very calm pace. Devise now in trouble as Wolf will disrupt him. Wind Goes Burr is looking to mop up more kills, as it looks like Devise's team has abandoned him down here. There's multiple people fighting though, so Wind Goes Burr has to be careful, OSK. This is not guaranteed.
Yeah, Team Hello Gamers already down one team member, but the rest of them are actually looking pretty healthy. We'll have to see if we can have a 2v3 turnaround, but this might be a whole new squad coming in, as I know that there's one on top of the hill, and now we have this one rotating around, so this might just spell the end. Hello Gamers might be saying goodbye to the lobby. Season's greetings has come too early, as Krupt is getting chunked down, and that's going to be the full squad. Wind Goes Burr does indeed go Burr, and they are going to be looking for their next engagement. Again, another day in the office.
Now we see Mancy looking up to get on that high ground, holding down that levitate, burning his mana. He does have recklessness as well, so that's an interesting choice, but he lands a good lightning strike, dropping a teleport to switch positions, throwing down some lightning bolts, but he takes a frost shot. Has to be so careful with this one. His teammates are coming to back him up, and now Mancy is so low. Gets a non-sliding TP onto this hill, and he's going to fall down. Cracked to flesh. He tries to reposition once again. The teleports are just coming down off cooldown as Mancy and his team are getting beat down. Ouchers is down to just 4 HP, as you can see. He is so low. Sharp Cheddar has still full everything, but can't seem to get into this fight. And the team has to peel out here. They get away with it, but there's 16 people left, and this team is not in a great spot.
No, definitely not. They're going to be looking to rotate out. It looks like they're doing a pretty good job of it. Interesting for Mancy to keep up the pressure there. You would have thought that maybe they want to stay hidden and not draw any attention to themselves, but that is not the case here. Ouchers, and Sharp Cheddar are going to have a little bit of trouble to deal with as the zone is closing. Maybe they can rotate around some of these trees here, get into the maze, make themselves very hidden. There it is. Mancy going to go ahead and rotate off to that maze, but we do have a lot of pressure coming out from these toxic sprays. So it looks like the engagement is going to restart here. Mancy going to go ahead and land off a little bit of residual damage from that lightning, but we do have a little bit of toxic spray coming out. The unfortunate stun, and Mancy is chunked down so low with no recovery either. So while he does have that increased damage, there is no sustain, and player 2 is going to slap him out of this lobby. And there it is, the cleanup from Novan. Team SDK going to hammer down Team Overdose. And now we have SDK looking for more. One player is down, but looking to make it even here is player 2. Novan might go down here pretty quickly. Player 2 might just cut his losses, get his teammate up. And that is Wind Goes Burr putting on the pressure, but they don't notice the res. They're going to be able to heal off a little bit and maybe rotate out to get Novan back up as well. Looks like no one's going for the exile here. Oh, I stand corrected. There is a little bit going on. The toxic cloud's coming out. They do notice it, so now it's going to be a 2v3. Now Blank is still trying to get his shields back up, but it'll have to be cut short as player 2 is just trying his damnedest to defend Novan in any way that he can, unfortunately being forced off. Play safe, dude. I don't know what they can do to save Novan, but no, there is nothing that they can do. He is down. Wind Goes Burr and SDK. Tell me how this is going to play out, Plays.
Yeah, well, I mean, SDK is definitely on the back foot, as you guys know. Now with just this 2-player team, they have to try to get a third party, it seems like. Taking on a flat 3v2 is just not advised, especially against Wind Goes Burr, who all have great mechanics. Definitely SDK. There is still 11 people in the game, so there is chances for them to find a different angle. Wolf now, looking at this fight straight on, takes a little bit of damage, but he's dealing way more than he is taking. Has that key artifact on his back, so he's trying to keep it locked in as he keeps on moving around the side here, getting onto this new high ground, sees the mana vault, isn't going to pop it. No need for this new loot. He is too focused on the action. Has that legendary frost, and we all know how deadly Wolf is with the snipes. Legendary Frostborn player, to say the least, as he's now just getting jumped on, though. Somebody jumps in front of him and doesn't quite spot him, and now Wolf is actually the leader of this fight, trying to hit the snipe, doesn't get it. Lightning strike will take him so low. Look at the burst. Player 2 follows up the CC, takes down Wolf, and Wind Goes Burr is now in the back foot. We talked about how can SDK make their way back into the fight, and this is how they do it, OSK. A quick assassination, and now Very Crisp is low too.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Wind Goes Burr might have just lost their key to victory as they are getting chunked down very quick. Wolf and Chris both down. Now it's all up to Ashenfrost. And I don't know if he can do it by himself. I mean, Very Crisp, it looks like that's a secondary disruption. He might have gotten up, but gotten himself back down. So I don't know what's going on there, but gonna have to clean it up. But it's too late, as looks like Team SDK is gonna go ahead and clean up Team Wind Goes Burr there, as now we have the final zone coming in. That's some big damage coming out from No Ways. This is Team World Tier taking control of this final circle. We'll have to see how SDK plays this out, but they are looking so good. It is a 3-squad engagement plays, and I don't know who's going to come out of this. We have player 2, the MVP of Team SDK, along with a full team of Team World Tier. We'll have to see if player 2 is indeed World Tier himself, as this is a lot of pressure to deal with.
Yeah, World Tier almost certainly has this dub in the bag. Look at Flaming Dwagon's HP, not to mention the rest of his squad. Knack takes down Lanky Sea Moose, and it's just cleanups left to go here. Nothing but napkins, just trying to sweep it up. Flaming Dwagon is still full HP, full armor, just bursting out the final circle. And that will be it, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3 in the books. World Tier takes another W. So that's 2 wins for Team World Tier as we get into Game 4 and up next.
Yeah, I'll have to say I misspoke a little bit when I called game 2 convincing. That I think was the most convincing finish that we've seen today. Team World Tier proving that they are World Tier, and not only in game 1 but in game 3 as well. They took control of that last little circle, literally the circle with the sort of sundial in the middle of it, and no one was approaching them. They were full health, full shield, and you are not allowed to enter. They are holding it down so well. Game 1 and game 3. You can't argue with results, man, and they are showing some great results today.
And I think the coolest thing about the way they're coming out to play is that they're playing consistent throughout the game. They're not just waiting for the final circle to go for the moment. They are playing aggressive from the start of the drop to the end. And as we keep talking about, that's how you get the high scorecards. Team World Tier has to be happy with their, has to be happy with their performance so far. The one thing we do talk about is getting enough of a cushion to go onto EU with confidence. I think that is their biggest concern now, because if they can pull out another first place W like that in convincing fashion, then they are on a pedestal to take this qualifier win.
Yeah, definitely. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned a cushion. I would imagine that 2 wins, along with a fair number of exiles, would be enough of a cushion, but you do have to keep in mind Team Win Goes Burr, Team CNT, both of our EU teams, they are doing fairly decently on their off region. They're getting a fair amount of exiles, and they are finishing towards the top. So that cushion might just be a little bit smaller than maybe what we're thinking, as well as Team SDK. They're also in the running as well, winning game 2. We'll have to see how they do in game 4, but you have to keep in mind the amount of exiles that they are getting per game. Player 2 just seemingly carrying his team to victory in game number 2. Now you have to realize that that amount of exiles from all these games is really adding up at this point. And to some extent, it might even be a little bit more important than your placement. He finished out second, which I know is only 5 points away from the first place finish. So those exiles are really going to be adding up, and they are adding up quickly, along with all the damage you can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason that this cushion for World Tier is not convincing is because the scores are still so close. Although they've been having great matches, they haven't been able to really separate themselves from Win Goes Burr. The scores are still in this tightly contested circle, and we'll see who can pull away. But I also want to mention Team Overdose. We haven't been talking about some of these other teams as much today, and we have to give them credit. Mancy, Sharp Cheddar, and Ouchers did a really good job that match of getting themselves to the mid game, securing enough loot, and playing as a team to really have a pretty solid game in game 3 right there. So shout out to that squad as we wait for game 4 to begin here.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice change of pace coming out in game 3 from Team Overdose. Definitely do not forget about them. All of these players in this qualifier are some of the best that you'll see in Spellbreak. So let's always keep that in mind whenever we talk about some of these top teams. Really, everyone in this event is some of the best that you could ask for. So always keep that in mind as we go into game number 4. Now, we have to talk about this, okay? I want to know what World Tier did differently, because while they did win game 1, it was nowhere near as dominant as it was in game 3. I'm trying to figure out, what did they do differently? I feel like we've been watching some of these other squads rotate in, and then we suddenly get on to Team World Tier, and suddenly they're full health, full shield. Did they stay out of the late game engagements? Did they just do such a great job of holding everything down? Do they have a thirsty player who's running some sort of safeguard, like team heal sort of strategy? I don't know what's going on, but whatever they're doing, it is working. You can't deny that.
I think it's a mix of the first 2 things you mentioned. So I think in that game 3 circle, they were much less contested by other teams. It looked like the Straggler 2, the 2 stragglers were fighting off Win Goes Burr, and the World Tier was largely uninvolved in that beginning of that fight. Whereas in game 1, they were fighting off multiple players. But the one thing though, in game 1 and game 3, Flaming Dragon ended the match with almost full HP and armor. So it's still convincing in that term right there. They managed to just get the W without having too much sweat on the brow. We got game 4 coming up. We're going to hope to see maybe World Tier take another W, because putting yourself at 3 wins in 4 games is a massive upset considering what we expected in these matches.
Yeah, definitely. I would really like to see see CNT and Wingos Bird just kind of push it out just a little bit more on the NA side of things. I know that the ping's a little bit higher and maybe it's a little bit more difficult, but I believe that if you are going to your home server here in the next 4 games, that this has to be the game where you really turn on the Jets. Maybe it ends up being one of the two that you drop for the best 6 out of 8, but at the same time, you drop the game. It doesn't matter. You just have to go out and try to get these big amount of exiles that we're seeing the rest of these teams getting, because realistically, you might only be seeing one team out of today make it into the finals. And with how stacked it is today, that would be a real shame if you sell yourself short.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way that these qualifiers work out, it's just the top 10 teams after 8 qualifying events. So as you mentioned, the scores get very contested up at the top. It is key that not only you try to win the event itself, but you keep yourself consistent enough to have a score that will compete. As we get into game 4 right now, the first squad on camera is the bot squad with Asmule and his team. Looking at the kill feed, though, it looks like Lord Vader and also Wingos Burr are taking fights so early in the match.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like Wingos Burr getting into some early engagements there. We did see a quick exile, and now Wolf is putting down some work as well. LKS finding themselves in a little bit of a sticky situation up in the Dust Bowl area. No belts among the entire squad, so maybe looking to disengage so far. There's our first belt coming out. It looks like LKS Liar is going to be looking like a speed demon out here with those epic boots, finding the Pumas onto his feet right there, as now Merlin looking to take this early engagement, saying, I'll play the front line. I have all the health. But it looks like, do we have 2 Pyromancers on one squad? I hope that's a mistake, because that might be a little bit contested in the rules there. Pretty sure we play separate classes, but we won't talk about that too much more, as it looks like it's not really working out too well for him, as they are getting exiled very quickly. That's 1 down, and it looks like 1's getting pretty close.
Yeah, unfortunately, as you said, if this is not a visual bug, if they in fact did run 2 pyros, then that is a break of the rule. So we'll keep up and we'll let the admins know about that one, see what the ruling is there. As you guys know, the spectator client is not perfect and there's a lot of visual bugs, so we can't quite confirm that LKS has the same pyro classes. There is other issues with display of inventory, so maybe this is just yet another issue. We will wait to see that cleared up, but LKS does finish the final fight. They win against SDK, and that is massive for this composition of these games.
Yeah, and looking at the result of that fight, if that really is 2 Pyromancers, that is huge implications, because the team that they exiled is Team SDK, who is clearly one of the front runners in this event. So we'll have to see what ends up being done about that, if anything. We'll have to really just pay attention to that, keep that in mind as we go into the rest of this match here. But we do have Team World Tier going to go ahead and take on a fight of their own, and look at how healthy they are, minus that quick little outbreak that Flaming Dragon just got fed out there. Knack gonna take the close range engagement, even though he is rocking lightning and frost. But look at the damage coming out. Flaming Dragon cleaning up Ouchers, and Sharp Cheddar. And that's gonna be Team Overdose going down with 2 members, and now 3 gonna go down to Team World Tier. What a beautiful engagement to rotate out, and Flaming Dragon doing the most of the work with no ace, sealing out Mansley there. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful rotations. You love to see it, plays.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen Flaming Dragon come out in the solo scrims multiple times, but you were mentioning, can he convert to the trios mentality? Can Flaming Dragon play squads like he plays solos? And the answer seems to be a resounding yes. Flaming Dragon has been playing so well in each of these games, doing such a great job of playing around his team, even though he's mainly a solos player, as far as we know. This is very exciting for competitive to see a team like World Tier come in and pop off. Now we're looking at C&T, though. They had an unfortunate drop early in game 3, but now we're watching Dwerky try to put some work in. Misses the Frost Knife from deep. He's going to rotate with the rest of his team, has the Spring Step, and you also see he has the triple stacked Lightning Strike, so that's going to be massive for how this fight plays out. Dwerky now looking for the flick, hits a 77, nice quick snipe as he's still holding this high ground, taking pot shots, can't quite get more than just the first to land. As you see Nigel moving his way forward with that front runner, bam, Asmule goes down to Dwerky's quick flick, and the rest of this team may follow as C&T is getting aggressive OSK.
Yeah, and you see C&T doing a great job of rotating out. The quick teleport coming out to match his teammate. is, I believe that's Nemo here on the right-hand side. I could be wrong, though. Dwerky doing a great job of staying above the action, really paying attention to what's happening in all of these squads, trying to lay down a cheesy flash freeze, and it will work. That's a free snipe for him, almost a stun, and now the follow-up snipe just not going to land right there, but the follow-up with the lightning doing some great damages is he right there. And you see the crouch spring step. I'm not actually sure if that gives you a little bit more distance, but CNT, regardless of that, is going to take out Team Bot Squad fairly easily, it looks like. Look at their health and shield. They absolutely dominated that fight and now looking to go into another one.
Yeah, they're moving up now. CNT gets a nice wipe there. Dwerky's just looking around these angles. I love watching Dwerky's camera perspective just to see all the little micro movements he does while playing, checking corners, looking around, making sure he has the full perspective. And now you see him just rotating with the rest of his team. This is also a great spot to be on this side wall. Multiple points of exit and entry, and also ways to take shots onto this deep end. Looking at Dwerky now, taking more pot shots. Almost gets that one to connect as Flaming Dragon takes out LKS Liar. And it looks like World Tier will be fighting off LKS, trying to knock down that double pyro squad as Flaming Dragon gets the final kill right there, taking it for his squad. But we're still watching this fight with CNT. Nigel gets the drop onto Raymalia, and now Dwerky is still on the back line, doing a really good job of not getting himself into too much trouble. Just sitting back with his team as now Nigel has to back up, getting shot hard off this conduit. OSK, this fight is not convincing, but CNT seems to just be wanting to take it.
Yeah, and I'm very surprised, actually, that Dwerky doesn't do a little bit of self-damage and try to get his team shields up. It is a little strategy that you do see the pre-potting coming out from some of the players with Thirsty. So I would have to imagine that maybe one of his players can lay down a quick fire puddle or something. Maybe he can get the rest of his team up on the shields. Maybe that was a visual bug on my end because I thought he had some shields. Maybe he actually doesn't. My bad. But anyway, they are doing a great job of rotating out, kind of keeping their team healthy here. Looks like they're completely free of that engagement for right now. We'll come back to them later as Team World Tier going to rotate into Dust Bowl, saying this is actually my area. Flaming Dragon looking to landscape a little bit, making this area look a little bit better for himself. As he does see an opponent here, a nice little conduit, going to toss out a boulder, make them flee a little bit. On the back foot is the enemy team as Flaming Dragon's just looking to dominate here, and it looks like he has taken the dominant position along with the rest of his squad. He does spot out a little bit of a third-party situation going on the eastern side of things, and now following the pings here, I don't know if that's another squad. I don't know if that's where they want to reposition to, but if that is a reposition, that's probably one of the best options they could have chosen here. It is in the zone, it is on the edge, and look at the high ground they can use. That is textbook squad play, and I love to see it here on the top level.
Yeah, definitely nice to see from this team. And you also mentioned that these were all solo players. So to see them try to pick up these mechanics and make these types of trio decisions is really, really nice. Now we got Flaming Dragon making the call to rotate to the Mana Vault, wants to contest this spot. Not only is this a great place to pick up some more loot through the vault itself, this is actually a really good place to position your team going into the final fight. So Flaming Dragon has recognized that, moving over to this side now, trying to get the loot and secure it. I know that a legendary boots or a legendary stone would be what he needs for this final fight. It's probably what he's praying for out of this vault, but it looks like the action has slowed down right now. All of the teams just waiting for this final fight, not wanting to take it too early, OSK.
Yeah, and something I want to point out that I didn't point out earlier is that about a minute or two earlier, we saw in the kill feed that Team World Tier actually did get the finish off the Team LKS there. So it looks like the double pyro strats won't work out too well for him, as looks like Flaming Dragon did most of the damage there, saying that, hey, it might not have combust, but my fire is just as hot, so you're going to go down regardless. And now we see them rotating out towards the maze area. I could imagine only looking to top off a little bit of loot that they might not have. I mean, Flaming Dragon just needs some shoes, but there's not really much else you can do as far as loot at this point. Maybe get a few more scrolls. Maybe get I mean, really, scrolls is the only thing I can think of, honestly. But now we see Snoopy Poopy, Payrick, as well as Late Night Pies, kind of holding down the western side of Whitgrave, and now looking to get a few long-range engagements are they. But Team Wingos Burr really laying on the pressure so far. We'll have to see how that plays out here in the later parts. Now that we have a central zone coming in on the Whitgrave area, I would imagine that they're going to be looking to take this tower and therefore the game. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'd have to agree, as well as the fact that they have Wolf on
Oh,
the
that's Fortitude.
Frostborn. Yeah, he knocks down that Fortitude with a nice snipe. Unfortunately, Fortitude kind of blocks that sort of highlight snipe. But yes, I think Wolf being spotted up on this tower is crucial to Wind Goes Burr's finals fight. Also, Ashenfrost is on Tempest, and we all know that Tempest excels in castles like this when you can bounce off not just the floor, but the walls as well. So this is definitely a conscious decision, I believe, from Wind Goes Burr to spot out this tower, just take pot shots from deep if they need to. Remember, there's still 18 people left, though, so although the pace of this final circle is quite slow, it is still a hugely contested final zone. There is many teams in here ready to fight for the final spot. Wolf connects on that one with a huge hit, breaking down that opponent to flesh, and he's going to keep up the fire now, just shooting. Oh! Wolf will not stop hitting these deep snipes, and he's really leading it as well.
Okay, all right. Apparently, Wolf is just cracked today. That's a nice it's a nice something nice to know. Enemy teams, if you're listening, Wolf is actually cracked. He can see where you are thanks to his Frostborn class, and it really doesn't matter where you're hiding because his teammates have tracking. So you better watch out. Now he has legendary. You better stay back. Wolf, if Wolf can see you, you're in danger, my friend. So that's the moral of the story today. Wolf is just on another level, as we'll have to see. How the rest of his lobby kind of shakes out. He does actually have a really good position going into this next zone. This tower is on the very edge, and from here he has a clear high ground advantage. So there's a nice little reader. The Fortitude, though, really showing why it is included in this current meta. Able to get some free scrolls off. Maybe not the trade you want, but still a beneficial trade for the Fortitude user. Now he just has to wait for it to charge back up. He'll be protected for the next round. And now Wolf, looking at this tower here, he wants to keep his eyes on there. That's really the only place he could receive some danger from. It is the only place that's higher than where he currently is. Obviously, he'll have to keep eyes on the chasm as well, but he's in such a great position to defend from that. So keep an eye on the tower, keep an eye on this little cathedral area, and he'll be just fine.
Yeah, we saw CFG take a couple of kills. Now we're onto their camera's perspective directly. Dwerky's in trouble as he falls to X-Pizzle, and now his last teammate remaining, Nigel, is on his own. Looks like Nigel made the decision to try to get out of this one, but it doesn't look like the opponents are going to let him do that. That is the end of CNT in Game 4. Moving over to EU on the second set of games is what they will be doing, but for now, they're going to have to watch the rest of this with us. We see that X-Pizzle is on Xbox, getting a nice kill there as he's just moving around, taking some last potions. Does have Fortitude as well, ready to proc, so he can play pretty aggressive. It does get broken by some wind. He does not have that immunity anymore as he gets hit with that CC, or should I say firewall instead. Pizzle now just jumping and avoiding these boulders as his teammate takes so much damage. You got to remember that Yogel is down, so now he's going to go for that res. This is so risky, OSK. He feels that he has enough cover behind this rock. This might be his one last chance. He gets it to go. And this team will have a little bit more space to work with 12 teams remaining. Ashenfrost was the one to get the disruption, so he won't get credited with the exile onto Yogel, but that means that we know Wind Goes Burr is still in this final circle, ready to hunt.
Yeah, definitely. And despite being stuck between a few rocks and a few hard places, he does end up getting the res off. So great stuff. We'll be looking to rotate off towards his later game area here. Now we see Linky Simu is trying to lay down a little bit of outplay potential, but the 20 HP into the 0 will be what he gets for his troubles. Cueto's going to go ahead and lay him down quite convincingly, as now it's just one teammate left. I can't quite see what the name is because it's a little blurry on my end, but that's all right. I'll get it for you here in just a second. Now we see Pexel, unfortunately, going to go ahead and take a nice frost snipe to the forehead, and that's actually the last team. He ends up getting... Was that an exile that I saw?
Disrupt.
That was a disrupt. All right, so I did see that correctly. Good stuff. Now we see Ashenfrost just trying to keep the dream alive for the rest of his team here. Very crisp, and and Wolf, my mistake, going to go ahead and be disrupted, but this distraction that he's trying to get, this little bit of kiting that he's trying to get, is not really going to be enough. That Conduit has full eyes on him. That's Knack 3000 on Team World Tier, really just looking like complete world beaters out here. Look at how easily they are taking out these teams. They have full HP and still some shields left over. It is now a 1v1 situation as far as one squad versus one squad is concerned. And Knack 3000 laying down the woodwork. Flaming Dwagon coming up on the follow-up, and that's going to be the end for Quatos' team. That's going to be the end. If I can find their name, for Hello Gamers. Say goodbye to this lobby because World Tier is out here for the W.
Yeah, World Tier just won 3 out of 4 of the first games. That is huge for their standing. We do have 4 more games remaining, and we will be moving over to the European servers. Might see a bit of change of pace due to that, but still, this is a major, major moment for World Tier. They have set themselves up for victory here. Check scores, ladies and gentlemen, by hitting exclamation mark scores in the chat. You can keep up with exactly where these players are placing and how the scores are lining up. But nonetheless, Win Goes Burr must be disappointed with that final ending. Ashen Frost was so close to maybe squeezing out a second placement, but he got focus fired down. He actually almost got the res in that tower. You saw 2 bodies were stuck there, but he was spotted out and he does go down. An unfortunate end, but definitely a fortunate end for World Tier. It's a mixed bag here in Game 4, OSK.
Oh, definitely. And this is something that I honestly wasn't expecting. I know that No Ace, Flaming Dragon, and Knack 3000 are great individually, but you put them all in a squad together, apparently they have the coordination to boot. And honestly, the games that they're winning are not very close at all. They have full HP, they have armor left over, and all 3 of them are up all at the same time. I mean, besides game 2, they really have just been dominating this entire tournament, and it's going to be something to see if any of these EU teams like Wind Goes Burr and CNT can make the adjustment to really make themselves known as well, to sort of take that dominance from Team World Tier. It'll be interesting to say the least, but man, they are looking so good right now. The rotations are on point. The damage is there. It looks like they've really practiced well with their coordination. I don't know what you can do better, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too. We talked about after game 2, player 2 holding that MVP placement in the tournament so far, but it looks like
Mhm.
Flaming Dragon has just snatched that out of his hands. Such great
Yeah, it
games
looks
coming
like.
out from the Stone Shaper. And playing Stone Shaper in these trio games, it seems to be an integral part of World Tier strategy. Flaming Dragon is doing an excellent job of frontlining for the rest of his team, setting them up for victory. I mean, you guys saw those final circles. It wasn't even close in game 3 or game 4. But nonetheless, we do have to take a quick break before we get to the final 4 games. I believe there is a video from Marcus, aka Apostle, ready to be shown to you guys. It'll be about 9.5 minutes, I believe. And then we will come back for the final 4 matches. OSK hitting you guys with a beautiful sneeze before you wrap it up, too. That's
Hey,
awesome.
don't worry, I'm over here. I'm not in your house, okay? My mask is on the table over there. I'll be fine. But anyway, thanks for sticking around all the way to game 4. We'll get right back at you for the second half again on the EU servers. Stick around, guys. We have a beautiful montage coming out like Play Safe just said. We'll be right back for you.
Ladies and
All
gentlemen,
right.
welcome back from that halftime break. Sorry, I just cut you off, OSK, because I know you
No,
got
you
some
good.
news
You
about
good.
the ruling. Tell the people what the ruling is about the double pyro situation with LKS.
All right, let me tell you a little bit about this ruling, okay? So, because they ran double pyro, and our class rules state that for squads, each member has to have a different class on every member. So what we've done for game number 4 is basically LKS will have a 30% score reduction for game number 4. Unfortunately, there will not be any compensation for any of the squads that were exiled due to the double pyro. So it is just a score reduction of the violating team. So we'll keep that in mind for these next few games coming up, that their score is diminished from game 4. Now, plays, we got to talk about this, man. We got to talk about how these prize pools are possible. We do have the sponsorship from Proletariat. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Proletariat, for our prize pools this time. But if people want to make donations, where do they have to go?
Yeah, the donation page is right here on Twitch. You can find the link, but the biggest information about the donations is that 70% of all contributions go towards prize pools directly, and 30% goes towards paying for upgrades in production and staff work. And those are all the different credentials of our donations, subs, and all the rest of it. We really appreciate your guys' support throughout all of these events. We've had tons of different supporters all throughout these months, and it is a huge, huge pat on our back to keep working, keep making these things for you guys. As you mentioned, OSK, massive shout out to Proletariat as well. They are the funders of this event. $1,500 in the finals, a massive prize pool for these fun games. We also got some skins from them that have been being given out during our scrims, our broadcasted scrims. Unfortunately, no giveaway right now, OSK, but we do have the
Yeah.
money. So it's one or the other, really.
Yeah, really. And speaking of money for these qualifiers here, we do have $30 going towards the winning squad of today. So maybe, if nothing else, maybe you don't want to go to the finals for whatever reason. Maybe 30 bucks, ten bucks per teammate could get you a nice little gumball or something, get you a nice lunch for that pretty lady you've been eyeing. But in any case, we have four more games to get through. We have all these games on the EU side of things, changing regions a little bit. Tell me what your predictions are now that we're switching off of NA. We do have some of these squads that we were calling out earlier. When Goes Burr and CNT are some notable teams coming from the EU side of things. What are you expecting in the second half?
It's really interesting that you asked that because I feel like we talk about this every single event. We talk about NA, EU, and how that latency affects the players. But the fact of it is that when we watch these events, it really doesn't change that much. Historically, throughout element events, when we move from NA to EU, there's not some massive change in the scores of the EU teams. It feels that way because they can play on lower ping. But in terms of the actual fact of the matter, it's not that much of a difference. So, well, I want to, in my heart, predict that Win Goes Burr is going to start getting first place in every match, or C&T will start popping off with 10 exiles in every game. Historically, I can't say that with confidence. I don't know about you, OSK, but I still do think World Tier might be able to hold on to this one, get some more first place finishes over at EU, and take this one home.
Yeah, I really do think that World Tier definitely has a bit of a reputation now that we've seen them win 3 out of 4 games on the NA side of things. But like we always say, every event, it is a little bit of a toss up. Sometimes we see some NA players really pop off on the EU side of things. Sometimes we see it vice versa. So we'll have to see how World Tier can adapt to that little bit of latency. But I have to say, for the strategies that they're running, Conduit, Stone Shaper, and Pyromancer, those really aren't very ping intensive classes. There isn't really a big, like we talk about pinpoint accuracy and then splash damage and AoE. They're running a lot of AoE. So I don't really think that this ping is going to be a big issue for them, as well as a few other teams. Of course, Ashen Frost and Chris are going to get a big boon from this ping boost, especially Ashen Frost, because he loves to run that Tempest Frost that he's so known for. So we'll have to see how things play out. But Ashen Frost is going to have a great time. And I do believe that World Tier really has an opportunity to just sort of coast here into the second half. Looks like we're getting into Game 5 right now, and we're about to see if my theory is proven correct, or maybe it's a little bit wrong. We'll have to see how it plays out, Plays.
Yeah, see if the caster curse applies in this situation. We're watching Mancy, though. They had a really good game 4. Want to give credit to this team. I believe the name of this one, let me just pull it up so I don't say the wrong one. It is Team Overdose. So they had a really good game in game 4, actually. A slower start for them, but maybe now that they're over on EU, they've had a bit of a halftime break. Maybe they can pick it up. Also, a slow start for the match itself. Looking at the kill feed, only Snoopy Poopy from the tournament has got a kill with Late Night Pies, but it is a much slower drop coming into game 5. Not sure exactly what the cause of that is, because by the time we went to halftime, there was fights happening all over the map at the start, but it looks like we've reset to a calmer pace in game 5.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm sorry. I'm a little bit distracted. What are y'all typing in chat? What are y'all doing? But anyway, going into this game 5 here, it'll be interesting to see any sort of weird rotations coming out on the central side of things. If I can get a quick look at the map, so we can see what our zone is looking like. This first little rotation, it is very, look at those mana vaults up in the northeastern side. You have to imagine that with that amount of mana vaults coming out for the first zone, that has to be such a hotly contested area. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I would think. It looks like Team Overdose is actually going to be rotating off towards northeastern side. You might see a ton of action here in about a minute or two. Looks like we'll be seeing our first engagement in the Stone Tooth Mountain area. Plenty of loot to go around and plenty of loot to take off of exiled players. Mancy doing a great job of staying hidden despite the red outlines from his suit, but we'll have to see. Sneak attacks are a-coming, and it looks like they are spotted out. Mancy, the glow is just a little bit too much, and here comes the action. Plays. This is looking like a big engagement. We'll have to see how this plays out, my friend.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the Frostborn on the top of the hill, I have to assume that is It's Just Wolf. I mean, he's really the only person playing Frostborn in this event. So to see those trails, I almost want to make that assumption. You see Sharp Cheddar is so low. He tried to jump in and close the gap, but just got bursted by this opposing team. Not Blank from SDK does get a kill. Look at that. SDK gets a full squad wipe as we keep this camera perspective on the front side team. This is Team Overdose, as we mentioned, trying to get a little bit of work in. They don't have the best tools to go at range here. Mancy is stuck with just the lightning, trying to peg off damage, but he isn't managing to land too many ticks. Teleport fails, but it looks like this team has decided to completely rotate out as SDK is in the kill feed, getting themselves back into the picture here, trying to have a pop-off game. Unfortunately, they got knocked down in that game 4 early situation, so that's going to be a throwaway match, and we'll see if they can rally themselves up on EU now.
Yeah, and it looks like we'll have to see how SDK does as well. Looks like they're getting some nice little engagements going on here. That's one squad down, looking to make it 2 is Novin, and we can see the Stone Shapers come out. We can see the Pyromancer. Looks like player 2 is still sticking on his tried and true toxicologist, looking to reposition just a little bit, get a little bit of outplay potential on this enemy squad. Novin not going to quite land that frost, but he is keeping the heals up, so it's good stuff to him. Now we have a little bit of rotation coming out. All 3 members of SDK are on this one member, and he's going to go down very quick. That's Novin on the snipe, misses that one, but this last little engagement from Not Blank on the Toxic Gauntlet, he is going to take 2 complete squad wipes. Great stuff coming out from SDK, looking to make up that score loss from game number 4.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like they're getting themselves ramped up to take this game 5 if they can. We do have to keep an eye on Wingo's Burr and CNT. As you mentioned, they're now on their home server. Just as we say that, Dwerky gets the drop onto Sharp Cheddar and Ouchers falls to Nigel. Also, LKS gets a kill onto Connor Bot. So there's fights happening all around the map right now. No mid-game lull to speak of so far in game 5. Look at that. CNT finishes the squad wipe onto Team Overdose. Going to be nice for them to get themselves further in this game. 27 people left still, though, OSK. And once again, we have a mid-game situation with lots of teams, lots of map space to cover, and tons of teams with good enough loot to fight. These are some explosive mid-games that are just powder kegs waiting to pop off. We haven't seen any huge fights in these situations, but the potential is there.
Yeah, and you can see that power spike coming out. Looks like from one of our members on SDK there. Novin is going to go ahead and pick up the legendary amulet, and that's going to couple so well with his focus mana build that he's running on the Pyromancer. So you have to imagine that a lot of damage is going to be coming out from Team SDK from this point forward, even more so than before. We now see Team Wingo's Burr. I don't think they have any exiles quite yet, but they're looking to change that fact. We have Wolf here running the Finders Keepers, looking to funnel anything he can into Chris and also Ashen Frost. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him. He is rocking the Harmony and the Thirsty, so a little bit of a flex pick, a little bit of a tank-oriented setup that he's going for, as well as sort of a support with the Thirsty AoE heal that he can do on those potions. But we do see No Ace going to go ahead and take out Arthur. That's the second, or yeah, he's actually the full exile. So looks like Knack got the disruption and No Ace got the full thirst. And now we see LKS, the rest of them trying to pick off Team World Tier, but these guys are indeed World Tier, and I don't know if this is going to work out for them. We'll have to see how this plays out, but they are getting chunked so low. That's one member of World Tier almost out of the lobby, almost there, 1 HP left, and there it is, the trade going out from Flaming Dwagon and No Ace. It'll just be LKS Liar left on Team LKS, but he is doing a great job of kiting away. He is getting a little bit of healing off. We'll have to see if that keeps up for him, as it looks like Team World Tier are looking to rotate on and seal out this fight.
You have to imagine that LKS Liar will not survive here, but he's doing a great job, like you said, of keeping himself alive. Gets over to the side now, almost gets the res, but gets interrupted from some long-distance lightning. Unfortunate for LKS Liar right there, as now he's just going to be the focal point of all of these fights. Everybody trying to get that last hit onto him. He's just flesh right now. No armor to speak of. You see Merlin trying to reposition, maybe look for another spot where he could get picked up, but unfortunately he gets body spotted, and he will get exiled. His teammate saves him at the last second, though. Liar coming clutch, but it's not going to be enough, OSK. You might be able to save him for a second, but I don't think it's enough to wipe the rest of the team. That will fall, but also it's a big credit to the last member of LKS for being able to deal extra damage, get the last little bit of score, squeeze the last couple points out before they fall.
Yeah, and it's great stuff from him to actually disrupt Flaming Dragon in that last little bit of engagement there, as they are playing on a higher ping. They are literally from China, and I'm not making that up. So that's very high ping, no matter what part of the world you're in, given the regions that we're in. So that was a really good turnaround from him, despite being the 1v3. He does end up getting one disruption off the Flaming Dragon, or arguably the best player on a world tiers team. So you definitely can't take anything away from him there. That was about as well fought as you could really ask for. And now we see this team coming out here. If I can get the name, it looks like it is My Little Pog Champs. I do love that name, actually, just a little bit. And we are seeing them kind of rotate out. They do have a lot of exiles, though. That's 2 on the late night pies, and I would imagine a few more onto the rest of their team. So looking to just straight W key into this engagement are they. And that is a flaming boulder coming out your way. That's going to be a rune burn from late night pies. We'll have to see if they get any sort of advantage from it, but it looks like they'll just wait for the cooldown to go ahead and restore. It's unfortunate for late night pies that he is rocking that common fire, but what can he really do? It's a squad competitive event. All the loot is already taken up, so now you just have to exile some people. Hopefully you get a nice little drop.
I mean, something that is nice to think about for him, even though he does have the common fire, if you do get the exile in the late game, fire is such a common element for these players to run in competitive. It's almost guaranteed that once you kill somebody in the late game, you will be able to upgrade your fire, considering almost one person on every squad runs a fire. So maybe that's what is in the back of his mind, keeping him calm as he is stuck with that low damage set. Coming through, though, Dwerky is not stuck on any low damage. Look at his loot, OSK. Dwerky might be able to have a pop-off game here, and I've been waiting for CNT to come through, show off their mechanical prowess, and this finally might be the match.
Yeah, maybe so. And speaking of CNT, they're doing a great job of getting some disruptions onto some of the enemy teams here. Nemo is going to go ahead and take out Wolf there, and the Thirst coming out, that's Wind Goes Burr. Going to be down one member is Wolf, and now we see Snoopy Poopy going to go ahead and disrupt Flaming Dragon. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Flaming Dragon getting a little bit short-handed on the EU side of things. And speaking of short-handed, Snoopy Poopy on the common rune. You hate to see it. Even though Spring Step does have a low cooldown, it is... Oh, what a nice placement from the Lightning Strike. I don't even think he was expecting to hit that. And now it looks like he just has a free rotation onto the rest of the squad. They might actually pull this one out. We'll have to see how it plays out. But man, that was such a good Lightning Strike. And unfortunately, the answer is no. It looks like SDK is going to say, man, that was a lucky shot, but these are not lucky. This is all skill right here. And I'm going to go ahead and exile the rest of your team for that, you little cheeky lightning striker. And look at that. Novin's just eating all these lightning strikes. You hate to see it from Novin's point of view, but it's kind of funny if I'm being honest.
Yeah, SDK taking a ton of damage on the backside of this. They have to try their best to survive. Player 2 needs to build up a little bit more space. You see him on the backside looking for his chance to get some potions. We don't know what his inventory is, but we have to assume he has enough resources to get himself back up to HP. We got Novon on the backside as well, trying to take some potions. They know they're going to get pushed up on. They have to do this as quick as possible, reposition as correctly as possible. As you see, Not Blank take a massive snipe from deep. That's going to break him down to flesh once again. SDK keeps getting hit with these setbacks as they try to reset. Oh, Novon misses just barely as his teammate takes the brunt of it. Player 2 so low now. Cloud gets blown up in his face. Not Blank should fall, as Player 2 is also down to his last scraps. Looking over the top side, they're fighting off a hollow skin. Novon doing his very best, but it's not enough. Not Blank does get disrupted by Pixel, and he is just trying to run away, but look at this, getting chased down by 2 members of the opposing team, and he is just getting focus fired as Player 2 is doing his best to get potions and try to maybe redeem his team if he can.
Yeah, and as we say with conduits here, it's like once you start getting zapped by lightning, it puts a timer on the fight, and unfortunately, Novin's time has run out. Now it's just Player 2 trying to hold down the fort, but it looks like all his shield will go ahead and get melted off. The corrosion coming in. Now we see Novin. Looks like he's going to be thirsted out. Player 2 saying, nah, we're not going to go ahead and do that. But the outbreak coming out, that's some big damage. But looks like Player 2 just not able to finish up the exile quite yet. We'll have to keep an eye on the kill feed for that one. The thirst is coming out. Yogi going to go ahead and take out Novin. Now we have the rest of the squad here with Lanky Sea Moose. Toxic Souls. He's going to go ahead and take control of this fort. There's just one little assassin that they have to deal with, and then they are scot-free. And it looks like they've done a great job of feeding Yogi all of these beautiful knowledge potions, as he does have the extra charges onto Outbreak, but he is getting slapped around by player 2. That's all the shield melted off already. Yogi doing a great job of kiting out, trying to get into a different position here. But look at the follow-up from player 2. That is a beautiful disruption. I was not expecting that. He goes for it, absolutely dunks on him. And now Linky C. Moose and his other teammate Pexel gonna have to follow up on this. Player 2 is still alive though. He could harass the entire rest of this game. Keep an eye out for that going into the late game.
Yeah, he's trying his very best, player 2, just trying to keep himself alive, maybe in a position to get a second place finish and some more damage, as you mentioned. But CNT is in here still dominating. Dwerky and Nigel get 2 more exiles, this time onto members of World Tier, and it looks like they may have finished off the rest of that team. Also, Nemo kills player 2, so they also knock down the rest of STK. This is a 3v3 CNT. Oh! He gets out of it on his tippy toes. Yogi manages to prevent an OP fracture fail right there, but he still has to deal with CNT, and this is not looking great. Dwerky gets the assassination pick, and we move over to the rest of the team now. Lanky C. Moose is just about dead. He does fall, and this will be CNT taking game 5 once Pizzle does fall. Just a little bit more damage to go. That is the conclusion. Nice to see CNT coming out here, OSK, getting a nice pop-off.
Yeah, it's about time we saw that pop-off come out, and what a convincing fashion as well. But all 3 of their teammates were up, and you just love to see all the damage coming out. Lots of fire being ran on CNT side of things. So it's great strategy coming in to try to blow up multiple members of the enemy team if you can get the combust off. And you just love to see all the action coming out. CNT finally making themselves known on their home server. And this is exactly what we were expecting. The EU boys are coming out and they are truly saying, hey, this is my home turf. You're not going to take it from me. And now we're going to take game 5, looking for game 6. We'll see if anything changes, but plays very convincing game from CNT.
Oh, certainly. And I mean, they just proved me completely wrong. I said that aside from a couple outlier games, EU doesn't have that much of a point differential when they get over onto their own server. And I was completely shattered with that prediction. CNT came out winning their first game of the event on a convincing W. I loved the way that they stood up on the side of that tunnel, waited for the final fight to end, positioned themselves on the top of the bridge and just made it rain down on the opposing team, taking game 5, as you said, in a convincing fashion. And we're just waiting for game 6 to start up. Any predictions for those upcoming games?
Man, I'm expecting a repeat from CNT, honestly. I think that the way they took this game and all their engagements was very, very convincing. They were even able to harass multiple squads at the same time. As you saw them harassing a little bit of World Tier and a little bit of Wind Goes Burr, who themselves are also an EU squad. So I think that they're really at this point feeling themselves quite well. I do believe that they really do feel like they have control of this lobby at this point. We'll have to see if game 6, if Team SDK or Wind Goes Burr or World Tier can sort of wrestle that from them. But let's talk about this other team in the final 2 squad situation. Toxic Souls making themselves known here in second place and in a team on EU. And that's just really great awareness from them to really be able to take over that tower and then rotate it out for a second place finish. Didn't quite get everything that they wanted, but it is definitely an improvement of what they've had before.
Yeah, definitely got to give them credit. I mean, Lanky C. Moose did a really good job of spacing himself out in that final fight. Z Pexel, I don't know exactly how to pronounce that name, but I think he was the star of the show for that team, coming out with a nice performance, as you mentioned, in game 5. And as we wait for this game 6 to start, we got to look at the pace of the match. Once again, it looks like we took a step back to a slower start in game 5, and I'm expecting that to flip. I'm expecting game 6 to come out aggressive, fast. I'm expecting CNT to start hot in this match.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would expect CNT to kind of take control of that central area. I do believe that they are feeling a little bit more confident. They finally were able to sort of, get their feet wet a little bit, see how the competition is stacking up on their home server. And now they realize, hey, we actually won that one pretty convincingly. Maybe we can go ahead with a little bit more risky situations. Or on the flip side, they could play this a little bit kind of similar to how they played this one, go for a safe landing and then just consistently play the matches out to try to get that first placement every single time. We know that they're going to pick up a lot of exiles along the way. Maybe if they do that and really seal themselves out the lobbies for these next 3 games, then they have a nice consistent showing, and the 2 games that they'll drop off won't even really mean anything anyway. So
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
that's the play as well.
if you guys are at home and you want to see exactly what we're talking about when we talk about placements, hit exclamation mark scores to see where your favorite teams are lining up. You can get an idea of what they need to take home that first place finish, the $30 prize, and the entrance into the finals. We're just waiting for those final 3 games, as you mentioned. Sometimes just a little bit longer break due to the changes in lobbies. We have a little bit more time to kill between these games, OSK. Anything else you want to bring up about that last game? Maybe talents, builds, or anything of that sort?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up Wolf's build that I was talking about just a little bit. It is a little bit different than the classic tank build that we see, but he is quite a he really likes his Frostborn builds, and I do believe that that kind of plays into his harmony selection over the vigor that you normally see with recovery. Funny thing, he's not running recovery at all. He's actually running just thirsty. So it looks like he is trying to go for that full support build that we saw. Harmony, finders keepers, and thirsty. You're able to get that AoE heal off from thirsty whenever you drink your potions and your activate your armor shards. And also finders keepers, you see that he's not really investing anything into the talent itself, as it only improves your chances of getting scrolls. And he looks like he's trying to funnel any sort of knowledge potions that he can find, either onto Ashen Frost or onto Crisp. Really, either one of them will do. They both pack a really good kit that they're fighting with. Chris on the conduit's really, really dangerous with his fire offhand, as well as Ashen Frost with Tempest Toxic that he likes to run, and the Frost that he likes to run as well. So that build in particular, it's very different from what we've seen, given the scarcity of Frostborn, but it could be something to look out for here in this next patch coming up. Patch 1.3 has been confirmed to have some Frostborn changes, so that's some really exciting stuff you want to keep an eye on.
It also has some recovery changes coming. So as you said, Wolf is
Yeah.
already not running recovery. Maybe he's getting himself ready for that patch change. I think we're all expecting a recovery nerf. I feel like it would be quite surprising to see anything else changed other than nerfing it a little bit, because it is quite strong. It's had a presence for so long in the meta. But that's a great point you raised. I mean, just because Frostborn is not played pretty much at all in competitive, when it does come out, it opens up the door for changing up how you approach the class. Wolf whipping out something sort of new, even though even just Frostborn itself is new in a certain sense. And he's also rocking it with a Tempest on his team. Ashen Frost taking another unorthodox class into comp. They're having a nice set, not quite separating themselves into that first place, but there's still plenty of games to be played, OSK. Do you think Wind
Yep.
Goes Burr has a shot to bring themselves back into that first place, to separate themselves, I should say, in that first place finish?
I do believe that if they can get some aggressive drops, that they do have a chance. And I really think that that is the only way that they do it. I think they have to have some really big pop-off games. We haven't really seen anything too. There hasn't really been any separation from the pack quite yet from that team that I would have expected. They have great coordination, but we really want to see individually what they can do to separate themselves out from the pack. As we do see early on, it looks like LKS Arthur is going to get some early exiles onto not blank there of Team SDK, and it looks like Team World Tier actually getting a little bit of action onto Pow Hero and Olmom, as well as getting a thirst onto Asmule from the bot squad. So keep an eye on that for later on in this game. We're already down to 31 people. This is an aggressive game, just like we said it would be.
Yeah, this one has a lot more pace to it. Unfortunate that most of SDK looks like they fell right there to LKS. So once again, LKS getting an early drop. We have to assume in that case that maybe LKS and SDK have been dropping at the same location for a couple of games. You know, that does happen in these competitive environments. Sometimes a team has a certain set like Dust Pool, and they just end up conflicting with the same team over and over again at the start. Unfortunately, it looks like LKS, or unfortunately for SDK, it looks like
Oh, wow.
LKS did take away in that fight. Now we see Nigel posted up, waiting for somebody to come challenge him.
Man, I can tell you right now, if you're Team CNT, the loot that you have right now, it's time to group up and it's time to push some early fights. I mean, the only thing you could really ask for, maybe a little bit more talents, maybe a better fire gauntlet, but my goodness, man, your gear is all set up. You all have epic belts. Go ahead and take some early fights. That's the way to go in my book. I mean, at least if you're confident about it. Maybe if you're not, you stay back and play passively. But I mean, that's a really good advantage that they're going to lose here pretty quickly as teams get looted up. So Let's see. It looks like they're going to be playing it a little bit slow for right now. A little bit of a slower pace than what I've liked to see, but sometimes it's just the way it goes. Now it'll be interesting to see how they do rotating into the mid game here. It looks like we're having a bit of a southwestern circle, just west of Fort Halcyon. Maybe a little bit of Arena of Elders action is what we'll be looking at. But I do want to point out just a funny point before we get in. Nigel on his name has .17. I would have to imagine that's got to be his preferred patch. But we'll get back to that later, as it looks like his preferred amount of action here is going to be just landing some fireballs on his opponents. Does get chunked out a little bit from that Dragonfire, but we do have Dworky taking out Flaming Dragon, Nemo taking out Knack 3000, and now it's Nigel's turn to go ahead and take out the third member of Team World Tier.
Maybe one day I will do a history breakdown of Nigel and the patch 0.17 and his presence on the patch. But for now, we got gameplay to go to. Nigel is looking to take down this last competitor. Fireball connecting with the Ignite. No ace is the target, and he falls. So that is World Tier dying to CNT. And OSK, it looks like CNT has really picked up the pace here. You talked about them getting good loot to start, and they almost followed your advice. You were a prophet in that choice right there. They grouped up, pushed onto another great team, and convincingly wiped them off the map.
Yeah, and that's one of the most important teams to wipe off as well. I mean, you have Team World Tier, who was the clear front runner after 4 games on the NA side of things. Now what you're doing here is you're preventing them from earning any more points here in game number 6. And what that does is, while yes, it may be one of their drop-off games, if you can do that 2 more times, then at least one of those games, if they drop out early, is going to be one of the games they have to keep. And that's going to really give you an advantage going into the final score. And overall, do you a really good job of oh no. Oh, liar. Why do you burn that many rune charges in the zone? Oh man, that's a tragedy. If I'm being honest. You get the knowledge potion charges already getting and going on, and then you just burn your rune charges trying to work yourself into the zone. I don't know if that was the right decision, but it hurts. It hurts to see it. Anyway, plays. As I was talking about, it's really important that they got that team out early, seals them away from getting any extra points in the final standings. And overall, that's exactly what you need to do if you're going to be looking to make it into the finals here of the Element Fusion tournament.
Yeah, for sure. That's the key right there, is taking those fights as early as possible, playing strategically according to your scorecard. Nice to see them follow through with that. We're watching LKS walk their way through the storm. They're close to getting through, and we'll wait to see if there's a fight waiting for them on the other side. Common situation in these competitive games. The edge of the circle is highly contested by multiple teams. We'll see if LKS is on the backhand of that. Also interesting to note, LKS Liar is rocking Finders Keepers. More and more, we're seeing this come through. Players looking for knowledge potions, noticing just how powerful those potions can be. And it doesn't look like they got contested coming through. So a nice sign for LKS, as they do see some clouds ahead of them. And now we bump over to a new fight. This is Wind Goes Burr and the rest of their team. Wolf is the one on perspective here. So he throws down that Frost Sorcery, trying to throw down some shots, but can't quite get them to land directly. Remember, he is on that Frostborn. So if Wolf gets jumped on, he is in big trouble from a toxicologist or something of that manner. He is going right up there, though. Right as I say that, Wolf just shows no fear, playing frontline Frostborn, combat Frostborn, as he looks to take some snipes now. Almost gets one to hit. You thought that would go, but it did not connect. And now Wolf has to try to make up for the miss, going up forward with his teammate Ashenfrost. Oh, he needs this one to connect. He can't quite miss it again. OSK, these are crucial shots not landing here. But as I say that, Corrupt gets hit, and his teammate almost gets sniped as well. In the kill feed, though, ladies and gentlemen, look at C and T. They are applying pressure consistently, and looks like Wind Goes Burr is trying to compensate. Look at how hard they're pushing this team, OSK.
Oh my goodness, this is great stuff from Wolf. It's a good recovery from what he was doing earlier, kind of leaving himself open to those sorts of attacks from the Conduit and the Pyro. But now we see him kind of, look at that. Oh my goodness. Thirsty Goes Burr, ladies and gentlemen. You just love to see it. Sorry, got a little bit distracted there. But he is doing a great job of laying down some of these frost trails for his teammates if they do want to follow up. It is a nice little resource you can use to sort of rotate a little bit more quickly than some of these other squads would without burning a rune charge. So it is very, very nice from him. And look at that. We're getting right into LKS Liar, just getting someone out of the air with that Fire Gauntlet. As now we have the Firefly coming in, looking to reposition over the top, looking to get some Dragonfire, not going to connect, but this tower will be the tower to die on, as he will get chunked down. That's one Fireball, looking for one more. and I think he'll find it here pretty shortly, but just needs to connect. And there's the Ignite coming out. Snoopy Poopy is going to go down to LKS Liar. And also, we see Nigel also disrupted to LKS Liar. So that means CNT has to be pretty close. And this has to be Nigel right there. That little orb poking out. And CNT need to be very careful. If they go out this early, that might just be the end of their tournament dreams. We'll have to see how this plays out, but it's looking a little bit hairy right now.
They are getting pressured though as well. This is not just a static final circle in the zone. Ooh, nice quick flick. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that these LKS players are playing from China on huge ping. LKS Liar still hits a beautiful snipe flick right there to take the kill onto Late Night Pies, I believe it was. And now we see 16 people left in the game. They do have to make a decision here, OSK. The Storm is starting to smack them up. This is not advised for them to just sit in here. They have to make a move. You almost have to assume there's going to be a team waiting for them on the other side as well. Merlin is low as he's going to need to find more resources. He drank all of his potions as it's just LKS Liar with resources left to burn.
Yeah, and we do see a Frost Snipe coming out, almost getting Liar there. So that means that there is a squad taking up the high ground here. Liar gets chunked down quite a bit. That's a lot of damage coming out. That's got to be Focus Mana empowered or Ice Prism or something, because he had full 80 shield and now he just has 0. So got to be a little bit careful there. Now the Vigor and Recovery is a great tank option. He is going to be looking pretty healthy coming into this last fight, but we do see Pexel going to take out, looks like Merlin in the kill feed there. So that's one member down, and now we have a 2v3 situation. Let's see if they can follow up and get some good damage to seal out this fight. But it looks like Team LKS is a little bit wanting in terms of health and shield. But there's one opponent on basically 10 HP. That's going to go down. Yogi will go ahead and go down to Liar, but Liar might just go down to a little bit of lightning. He has to be a little bit careful coming into this last little engagement. The Firefly coming out, the stone damage right behind him. That's a little bit of Ignite from the Flame Wall, and the Frost from Wolf will go ahead and take him out. Now we're down to one member left on LKS, and When Goes Burr looking to go Burr on this last teammate.
LKS did a great job of staying together. Although they do fall right there, they kept up their comms and they focus fired onto some front side targets. Unfortunately, the positioning of When Goes Burr will knock them down. But anyway, shout out to LKS for their performance in Game 6. A nice showing from them as we focus back in on the final contestants. 10 people left in the game, ladies and gentlemen. We're close to single digits as we see Wolf looking for his potion, trying to get that Frostborn snipe. He's known to hit those, but he can't quite get it to go. Getting a couple more scrolls red now, dodging his way out of opponent Frost Snipes, looking for the angle, sees an opponent with Fortitude, has to be careful of how he chooses to confront this. You see that Wolf already has 2 kills to his name. Something that they're doing a great job of, OSK, though, is that When Goes Burr is scouring this castle, making sure they get every last potion. We know that in the late game, in the final circle, it can be hard to have enough potions to sustain, and When Goes Burr is doing a great job of controlling portions of the map that they know still have potions to take, that they know they can still get something out of it. As you see him ping more potions, this is massive for the team, even though it seems like a small detail.
Yeah, it really is great. And the more chests that they can find, the better Wolf is going to be, because you know that he doesn't have any scrolls invested into Harmony. That definitely gets your damage reduction up quite a bit once you get it fully charged, as well as the possibility of finding all of these knowledge potions that are really just sort of god pots at this point, if you want to use the colloquial term. So it looks like Wolf actually is going to find himself on the losing end of this engagement, though. Oh, what an unfortunate misposition. He did not expect Team CNT to all be right there, and now it looks like When Goes Burr is getting burred on, as we have about 1.5 teammates left on them. That's going to be cut down to 1. Ashen Frost getting melted by Team CNT. Nemo with the Frost Snipes, and Nigel with the Fireballs.
Yeah, CNT just wiped that fight up, and it looks like as long as Nigel can survive here, get himself a reset, CNT will be fully potted up with HP and armor to take the final fight. 7 people remaining. This is a 3v1 right now. It looks like CNT, all they need to do is consolidate their position and go for the final fight. Tries to take the snipe there from Nigel, but he can't quite connect. You see Nemo's taking a bit of damage on the front side, but he still looks confident with his position. Now Nemo dealing more damage, Nigel putting in more shots from deep, trying to get up on this high ground. Dwerky and Nigel both controlling the pace of this final fight. This is something so noticeable about the way CNT play. They really control the tempo of the fight, OSK.
Yeah, and they really don't have to move out of this final zone either. You notice that the zone is converging on that little housing area, and they do have plenty of roofs to stand on as well as some rocks. So they'll just be looking to stay. They don't have to push up. Now, interesting to note here, we do have Team Overdose. Looks like they have quite a bit of exiles on their side of things. Sharp Cheddar with 4 to himself here. Maybe that's all the exiles they have, maybe not, but that's still some very good score coming out from them. Opting to run Dexterity instead of Finders Keepers, so not that much funneling going on here, but plenty of efficiency from the mana side of things. He had to have noticed that. Yes, he does notice that the opponent is on the higher ground. This is a little bit disadvantageous, but one stun will get him out of it. There it is, coming out from Sharp Cheddar, looking to follow up with some fireballs. Needs to regroup with his team, though. He is a little bit out of position right now, and if they catch that, then there will be an easy exile from Team CNT. And it looks like the damage is coming out. The slow coming in from the Ice Mist. He's going to run back in it and get frozen. That is not the play. You need to get out of there, Sharp Cheddar. Oh no! Now he's going to have to dip back in this house, but now there's nowhere to go. This is the end of Sharp Cheddar, and he pays for walking through the Ice Mist. What a misplay. Oh my goodness. That was unfortunate as heck. And now we have Team CNT cleaning up the rest of this squad. We have one more member left, and that's going to be the end for Quados. Team CNT taking qualifier number 6 very easily.
Wow. Now that was a performance right there from CNT. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, taking game 6 convincingly. And it feels like every other game we're saying the word convincingly, because these teams seem to win a contested circle and carry that confidence into further games. That's 2 games in a row now that CNT controlled the pace of the final fight and slowly choked out the remaining teams. What a surgical performance from CNT.
Yeah, and you can see just the wanting to get to cover, the wanting to get out of that flat area that that Sharp Cheddar was in, but there's just that little bit of Ice Mist you have to watch out for, and that was what decided the entire fight. Yes, he was down a teammate, but whenever you just slow yourself down, make yourself such an easy target, get frozen off of it, then there's just really no chance, and that was so painful to watch, and I know that he's better than that, so game number 7, got to change up something. He did great getting all those exiles, but the final placement is still so important. So you have to keep that in mind. Now CNT really feeling good about themselves coming into these last 2 games. They've been playing consistently well on EU up to this point and really weren't doing too bad on NA either. They were getting exiles. Their placements, while not first, were still very decent. So now we'll have to see, is this score coming into these last 2 games going to be enough to overtake the lead of world tier? We'll have to find out. Of course, you can always type in exclamation scores in the chat to find out where everyone is. And we're about to see some really contested results coming up in these next 2 games, Blaze.
Yeah, I certainly think CNT has a shot to take this whole thing. I mean, there's 2 games remaining. The scores are tight, ladies and gentlemen. There is definitely a potential for CNT to come through and wipe the rest of these games. You guys saw the way that they are playing right now. They're playing out of their minds. And OSK, if I was a player in this event, let's say I was on SDK or I was on World Tier, I'm an NA player, I have a good score coming in, I would be shaking in my boots right now watching the way that CNT is performing. They are legendary Spellbreak players. It seems that the rust has been completely WD-40'd off, and they are showing up in these games.
I love that you say that, because my father was always a handyman, and he would drag me into all of his little ventures. So I know exactly what WD-40 is. I know I was swimming in it at one point, but anyway, and that's a very important thing that you mentioned, that these are legendary Spellbreak players. I think even in the Element Discord before this qualifier was going, they still have their champion roles from way back when. So you know that they have the power to win these sorts of tournaments. And yes, while they are very old champion roles, that's still very, very convincing performance that they're bringing out here on the EU side of things. It looks like once the ping is in check, then everything else just sort of falls into place for them, as well as their expert positioning. They are taking control of every zone that they're in. And you can see that that last little zone completely centered around the houses that they were camping out. And they were playing that cliffside to the left of these houses very, very well. So not only do they have the high ground, they're disconnected from any sort of grounded gameplay that Stone Shapers can make use of. And they have all the long range options that you could ask for from Frost and Lightning. And that's really the story of it. It's just superior positioning up to this point. You're seeing it every game, and we're about to see it here in these next 2 games for my prediction.
I mean, it's an interesting point you bring up about positioning, right? Because although the key to this game can be positioning yourself in a good spot to take a game, when you're playing a style like CNT, you can't just be great at positioning because you have to hit your shots. They're playing Lightning,
That's
they're
true.
playing Frost offhand. So to dominate like that, you cannot just take a high ground. You have to be taking a high ground and sniping down targets. And that's exactly what they were doing in game 6 and in game 5. This is looking like a disaster for every team that is not CNT. We have 2 games remaining. A lot of people in chat are talking about how close the spread is on this quali. And OSK, as casters, we live for events like this.
We really do. You heard how excited I was getting at the end of game 6 right there. A little bit of a tragic moment coming out from one of our squads, but that's how close everything is that if you can avoid little things like that and you can really position yourself, even just a little advantage to help yourself out, it really is enough to turn some of these fights. And it's something that they'll have to make great use of coming into game number 7 and game number 8. Of course, like we always say, we're only taking the best 6 out of these 8 games. So with all this in mind, you have to imagine if CNT, even if they have just one off game, you still got to think about all the others that they're doing well in. So if they can keep it the consistency and they can perform that the way that they are, then some of those NA games where they didn't do so well, they're off the map. You don't have to worry about them, and they might just take this whole tournament.
I mean, something to keep in mind when you're looking at the scores is that one of the games that CNT had, they actually died on drop, right? So that game is
Yeah.
already a throwaway. They only have one more game that they can risk to throw away. And if they don't, if they have 2 of these remaining games where they don't get satisfying scores, then it's over for them. There's a lot of pressure on CNT, but something tells me that this team doesn't feel pressure like that. I feel like they are confident in their ability to take the rest of these games.
Well, Team World Tier is also in a similar position as them. We saw them in game number 6 get killed very, very early on, or get exiled rather, very, very early on by Team CNT. And that, you have to imagine, is going to be one of their throwaway games as well, since they were doing so consistently on the NA side of things. So if they can also kind of bring it back up to speed, kind of how CNT was doing in the NA side of things, if Team World Tier can show up and really just do what they know what to do, get some of these early exiles off, and even get into a similarly better position as far as the rankings are concerned, then they might have a good running as well. But the moral of the story here is all these top teams are so close in terms of standings. Really, anything could happen. So we'll have to stay tuned, see how they perform, and we're gonna find out right now. Going into game number 7, we're gonna be on to looks like a little bit of a random squad here. We have Tibbers going to go ahead and be taken out here. Nasix on the other side of things is going to be taken out as well. Maybe we'll get on to some of our competitors here, but that's very important to know who that is taking them out. And it looks like Team SDK is going to get a little bit of a revenge onto Team LKS in Dust Bowl. We know that they've been contesting that area since day 1, since game number 1 of this tournament, and SDK going to come out on top on this side of things. So they're looking pretty good. They're feeling pretty good. Now it's time to get looted up pretty good.
Yeah, this certainly confirms our belief that these two have just been fighting on this one drop spot for the entire event today. This was the 3rd time in a row that they caught a conflict at the start, and it's definitely Dust Pool that is drawing them in. We see CNT as well, Nemo taking an early kill onto Snoopy Poopy, and Nigel as well getting a kill onto Pro Tug 4. Definitely another good start for CNT and OSK. It looks like their confidence is at an all-time high in these events.
Yeah, you would have to imagine so. I mean, they are just absolutely dominating every team that they're coming up to. It really feels like they are. Oh no, ConnorBot's going to walk right into a little bit of Dragonfire as well as the explosion coming out. Now have to back off, go ahead and get a little bit of heal off, get some of that escapist value that you love to see. Now, we'll have to see if he can find any more snipes. He's going to try to land as many as possible, but he is getting jumped on right now. As now we are getting into a little bit of an engagement here. ConnorBot is going to have to teleport out, getting into the house. Let's see if he can rotate out behind this little rock here, maybe get a little bit of heals off. And there he is, getting just a little bit of recovery back. It will be Small Chameleon and ConnorBot holding down the bot squad. But we do see a Stone Shaper coming out. That's going to be a lot of damage. The teleport coming out, but it's not far enough. As now he is getting slapped up, and Oucher saying, "You are hurting quite a bit, my friend. You are going to get exiled out of this lobby." Now we're going to jump right on over to another squad. It will actually be Team Overdose. Ouchers picking up a nice little engagement. And look at that exile count. 4 exiles onto Ouchers. Ouchers so far, such a great jump in score that they will take here in this early game. Also knocking off a few of these contestants out, so no score for them as well. In place, my friend, that was probably the quickest bathroom break I've ever seen on the casting desk. Welcome back.
I was running, OSK. Believe me when I say it. I'm sprinting for the people watching at home. Thank you for covering for me, my friend. You are the king of that solo cast. And we look into here. Ouchers has 4 exiles to start us off. The entire kill feed is covered in his name right now, OSK. Great start for this squad for sure. And I'm sure you were covering that while I was gone.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I want to also point out the ambidextrous build we're seeing out here. Ambidextrous and Fervor. It's been such a good while since I've seen this talent. And it looks like you might have heard me as he rocks out the wind jump on Stone Shaper. And this really just allows Stone Shaper to get that movement that it desperately wants out of the class. You're able to wind jump off, get a little bit of bedrock going. And that is so good in terms of dodging all these spells that can come out of you. Not only do you get the fast vertical movement upwards, but you also get the fast fall down. So if someone's trying to hit you with a fireball, it's going to be really, really hard. Same for a frost as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, also, it's something to note, the Tempest Stone Shaper is something I've been seeing more of from the community, not on a competitive basis, but I've just been hearing it as such a fun build to run. The way that you can use Bedrock as well to when you have the Ambidextrous and you do this exact build with the Tempest passive, you can just bounce yourself so aggressively across the map. Maybe we'll see Ouchers whip that one out as he does have TP in the pocket. He would be looking for a dash if he's trying to do the momentum carry like we see out of most of these players. I mean, Megaverse is the first name that comes to mind when you think of those Bedrock strategies. And we'll see this team rotate through. Now we're looking at another team, Wind Goes Burr. And it is crucial that Wind Goes Burr has a big game here, OSK. It is absolutely critical.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like that big game is what they're smelling right here. They do see a little bit of an opportunity to get some exiles off, and this is exactly what they need to do. They need to blow this up, and they need to blow it up very quickly. Now we see Very Crisp going to lay down some lightning damage, and the follow-up, Nemo's going to go down to Wolf. That's huge. This is Team CNT. If they can knock him out very early on, that is, oh my goodness. Actually, that's a finish off the Team Overdose, and Ashen Frost is going to exile, or rather is going to disrupt Nigel over here, so that's one more member of Team CNT. And now just half HP, looking at the member of Team CNT, that is going to be Dworky. Ashen Frost going to take him out with a fireball, and this is absolutely huge for our standings coming in. So this will have to be the second drop-off placement that Team CNT will have to take in their standings. In game number 8, they cannot afford to have an early showing like this one. They need to last until the late game, or they may not even make it into the finals. This is absolutely huge. Play safe. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, the temperature just turned up on CNT for sure. And this is the chance for Wind Goes Burr to maybe separate themselves right now. If they can win this game, have a pop-off performance, this is the security that you need to take first place. OSK, these games are so close in score. I'm so excited to see how this one breaks down. It might come down to the math. One of those qualifiers that gets decided by the elimination games, by the games that get removed. Remember that 2 of the 8 games will be taken off the lowest scores. That might be the determining factor, and these teams have to play around those realities.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see the funneling coming out onto Chris as well. Looks like he will be the #1 player coming out from Team Wind Goes Burr. He does have the most responsibility, the most toxic clouds, the most lightning strikes, the most amount of stuns, the most amount of teleports. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. And he's also rocking the foresight as well. So you have to keep in mind that with that increased knowledge coming out into the late game and no CNT to worry about, they may just ride this wave all the way to a first place finish. But now we see Team World Tier. They're looking very, very healthy, and it looks like they have a little bit of exiles going their way as well. They're rotating into the zone, into everyone's favorite dating spot, Ruby Grove Plays. We'll have to go visit there here in just a second, right after these events, my friend. What a beautiful area. You know, I got to say it every single time. This is my favorite area, the entire map. But now, oh, if you saw in the left side of your screen, there is a little bit of a squad going down in Ruby Grove, and now we have the mountainside, the long range from another squad being laid down. They'll have to rotate in very carefully here, but the low ground's not going to do them any favors. They'll have to rotate up to this mountain if they want any chance. Now, we'll have to see if Flaming Dragon runs into any sort of trouble here in Ruby Grove. but very careful. Do they need to play this? Definitely don't want any unnecessary damage going their way.
I mean, the exiles onto C&T were massive for Wind Goes Burr, but they were enormous for World Tier as well. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. If World Tier can swipe up and knock out the opposing team of Wind Goes Burr, then they are the dominating team in this final circle. This could be a major turning point of the event. If it comes down to a 3v3 between the two teams, that is massive to determining the finals of this event. Now we see Flaming Dragon gets jumped on. Every single one of these engagements will decide this event.
Oh, the slow
Dragon eats a fireball straight to the dome piece and has to keep his feet as they keep on rotating. This is really smart. Holding the high ground, though, making sure that they have to come to them across the Stone Shaper wall.
Absolutely, and it looks like they're holding down this area very, very nicely. The Flaming Boulder coming out from the Flaming Dragon. You got to really pay attention to this stuff, man. He is on the top of this mountain here. There is nothing that the enemy team can do without burning a lot of resources to reach them from where they are. That's a huge slam coming out from Flaming Dragon. That is a Focus Mana empowered legendary Stone Slam, and that is dealing so much damage. Now we have Flaming Dragon taking the front line here, really looking to sort of kite away for his teammate Knack. And now look at how healthy they are. I don't think they lost that much health at all in this engagement. They are doing so well at holding this area down, and the enemy team has to go ahead and get off of this area. Now they are forced to rotate out towards the southern area. If I can get a quick look at the map, we'll see where exactly they are going to go. I believe it's Bogmore, but we'll have to see here in just a second if I can get a little bit of map action. And there it is. Avant-Garde Summit will be your finishing area going in to this last little bit of action. Now they are pushing a little bit west. They will have to go ahead and play off of the mountainside here. Looks like Team SDK is also looking quite healthy. No exiles on the player too, but he's looking to change that fact as he is completely funneled up. Look at that. Look at that amount of sorceries. The rune charges. If anyone's going to blow this up, it is going to be player 2. So keep an eye on that, plays. This might get a little bit ugly.
Yeah, player 2 has 10 outbreaks at his disposal. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 outbreaks for player 2. Already such a deadly toxicologist, and then add on that disgusting amount of burst damage. This could be his moment. These games are so close. They come down to the finite mechanics as player 2 gets... Corrupt gets deleted right there as the rest of his team now has to try to recover. Player 2 looking for the snipe through the window. Can't quite get it. Gets on the 71. Player 2 is going on a bloodthirsty rampage in this game as he finds the quick. Flaming Dragon goes down, eats the knuckle from player 2 as there is just one player remaining of that team. Never mind, he has fallen already. Team World Tier has been wiped out, ladies and gentlemen. OSK, this game is high intensity.
It absolutely is, and you're seeing the power of the funneling strategy. I love it. I love it so much. I almost said a word I shouldn't have said, but it is so exciting. Oh my goodness, player 2 is coming right out. Needs to be a little bit careful with these vanishing misplacements, but look at the damage. Not Blank is taking out Quato so easily with a little bit of assistance from player 2. This might be an even bigger pop-off than the other game. Now, he did have 10 exiles there. I'm not sure if he'll be able to match it coming into this game, but you might just see the absolute dominance of player 2 with 5 outbreaks remaining. Let's see if he can make great use of them as he is just completely diving onto this team. He doesn't need the rest of his squad. He's so confident in his ability to land these outbreaks. Look at it go. The flash freeze coming out. The interruption from the other Toxic Cloud, but he re-enters. Now looking for a little bit of repositioning for his Frost Snipe. He finds the enemy. There he goes. No flash, no Shadow Step, but the Frost is just gonna miss on the connection there. He is gonna go ahead and dive right in. One more opportunity for all of these outbreaks, and it looks like this might be it. Going up to the high ground. Oh, has to quickly charge the mana. Just so unfortunate, the unfortunate timing coming out for player 2. Now a little bit on an island here. He will have to go ahead and reposition for the rest of his team. Only one member is down, but Novan holding the fort on the northern side of things. He's very close to being exiled there and looks like he will be disrupted. Now it's just player 2, and I'm on the ropes. Play it safe. That's another exile going to player 2, and that's Lanky Sea Moose with Team Toxic Souls going down to Knowledge Potion funneling. You love to see it, my friend.
Oh, but player 2 ate such a big snipe, but he turns it on to the opponent. Player 2 got so low off the front side, he's actually sneaking behind this opponent as well, trying to get one last potion. I believe that is It's Just Wolf. It is! Wolf hits a snipe to the dome. That takes down player 2 after a very, very hard fought scrap.
Mm,
Is that the end of the game? There were so many
yes,
dropped
sir.
bodies right there that Wolf just won game 7. For anybody who needs clarification now, Wind Goes Burr has just won the final match with that last snipe onto player 2. There was bodies all over the map, and that secures it. We got one more game to go. I need everybody to check the scores because this is a nail biter.
Absolutely. It's going to be so close going into these final finishes. And it's really crucial that these teams make it to the late game. It's very, very crucial. If you get taken out early, you might as well just kiss all your chances goodbye because we have Team C and T. We have Win Goes Burr. I don't know if SDK is in the running, but player 2 has the opportunity to pop off here. He got 10 exiles on NA, and he might do the same on EU if you're not careful enough. And now world tier, they have an opportunity if they can get some of these top teams out early, like CNT has managed to do, like Win Goes Burr has managed to do, then they have an opportunity to take the whole thing. We're in a 3-way deadlock right now. This has to be some of the closest matches that we've seen for taking the first place finish. And whoever takes first place here, you can almost bet your bottom dollar they are making it to the finals. The rest of them, I have no idea, but we'll have to see how these teams play out. I'm expecting an aggressive game 8. What about you, Plays?
I mean, that's exactly what I want to see. But OSK, if I'm being real with you, just the stakes that are at hand here, the closeness of the scores, I would be shocked to see one of these teams in contention take an early drop and fight all the way through. I expect to see a way more measured game from teams like SDK, from World Tier, from CNT. But how we've been watching CNT play so far today, that is not in the cards for them. They have been playing full W key all day. And if they want to take a W, that might be what they need to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the closest qualifiers from multiple teams I have ever seen. The other week, we had a very close contest between teams 1 and 2, but this is between 4 teams. There's multiple chances for a pop-off here. What you see in this next game will decide the qualifier. If CNT goes down early, it's over. If Win Goes Burr goes down early, it's over for them. This is just high stakes at its best, OSK.
Absolutely. And you have to realize here that all 4 of these teams basically have already had their throwaway games taken care of. All of them have died early at some point. So this really is the deciding factor here. If you die early, you're done. If you make it to mid game and don't pass up your enemy team, you're done. So really, you have to be looking for that first place finish, but you also can't ignore the exiles along the way. So we'll have to see if players are going to be a little bit more careful or if they're just going to completely try to demolish the other team and completely eliminate all hope. This is going to be so close. And you have to imagine that some of these teams out here haven't been playing for a while. Maybe you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, but my goodness, it is so close. I don't know who could take it at this point. It could be any one of these 4, honestly.
I might as well flip a damn coin if I want to try to make a prediction.
A 4-sided coin.
This is just a match to remember, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifier number 5. We have 1 game remaining before we wrap up the event. Remember that there is another qualifier tomorrow. That is qualifier number 6 at the same time. That will be OSK and Crashy casting that one, so I'll be tagging out for that. But we still got 1 more game to go. And in terms of predictions, I mean, as we said, we could just flip a coin. But if I want to make a prediction that sticks with my original call, the team that I said would win it today, I think CNT pops off and takes it home here, OSK. What do you think?
Man, I don't know. Let me take another look at these scores so I can make a good prediction, okay? It looks like, oh my God, it's closer than I thought it was.
50 points, OSK.
So not even that. From what I'm seeing on the updated scores, it is literally 3. It's 3 points between first and second. So look, it's all going to depend on the early game. Everything hinges on the early game in my book here. Yes, you can make it to the late game, get those placement points, but if you can pop off and get these early exiles, take away the potential of the damage score and the exile score, if you can have a very, very aggressive early game, then I think that carries you through the rest of these standings. I really do think that. And if you can make it to the late game, as long as you're landing your damage and as long as you're sealing out just enough exiles, even if you don't make first place, it's that damage score and that exile. It's 2/3 of your score. You better be looking to play aggressive because it is a nail biter. It's so close. 3 points between first and second. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I can feel it, man. I can feel it. This is going to be so great.
You know, when you're playing Spellbreak at home, if you're playing a pub match, you're having a great game, it's coming down to the last people, the pressure starts to set in. That is a pub game. This is the entire qualifier. These players are already feeling the pressure. Now imagine when they're in the final circle, everything riding on your performance. Every single last moment of that fight determines the entire last 2 hours that you spent playing today. This is so insane to see, and we love when qualifiers come out to this result. The first place team will get pushed through to the finals and have a shot at $1,500, and the rest of them will have to just watch the VOD and cry about it, OSK. This is going to be an intense game. We are just waiting a little bit longer to make sure we get everybody in the match. Should be about 60 seconds or so before we drop in and get you guys that last scrap of action. But nonetheless, we've given our predictions. We've talked about the previous games. All we can do now is just get ready and prepare our bodies, OSK.
Oh, my body is ready, my friend. It was ready for the Wii. It's ready for the Nintendo Switch, and it's ready for qualifier number 5, game number 8. And this is the point in the competition where maybe you drop into Fort Halcyon. Maybe you drop into Halcyon Cathedral. You want to drop where there's a big cluster of players that you've been looking at this entire 8 games. This is the moment where you decide, hey, maybe CNT is going to be dropping Bogmore. Maybe I drop in Halcyon and get 2 squad wipes to carry my score. But we're going to get into it really quick. Looks like a bit of a passive start right here. No early exiles coming out so far, but we see the Halcyon drop. Team CNT already looted up. Epic loot going their way. Belts, boots, amulets, and all the damage to boot. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath. CNT is really in a great position to take this entire thing based on the loot. They need to push these early engagement plays. They absolutely need to. If they see a target, they better be W keying right to it, man. This is their chance.
And look at the loot, as you mentioned. CNT is just thanking their saint right here that they got this type of start. Look at that gear as Flaming Dragon does get a kill onto Dragon Reincarnate. Nice drop for them, and they must be playing aggressive as well. Remember that World Tier Tier World is one of the teams that is in this final spot. They have a shot at taking it all home here. Nemo in all purples already, just needs a little bit better of a toxic. But look at the scrolls too. The Halcyon drop, I must say, was a bit of a dice roll. Halcyon can be a point where there's tons of fights. CNT just showing their confidence by deciding to drop here.
Hey, I will tell you though, it is a good dice roll to go. I mean, even if you're not lucky on the early drop, you're still in the central area for where the zone might end up. So if I can get a quick look at the map, we can see where the zone will end up. We'll have to see how much of a rotation looks like it will be on the southern side. Only 2/3 of a circle to go around, so there should be some early action coming in about 45 seconds when that zone starts to close. Now, what is not a dice roll is the damage coming out from Flaming Dragon. He is going to go ahead and take out one of our teammates here, as well as Noes. So that is Team World Tier already on the board. And now we're looking at, I'm telling you, it's 3 points between first and second. As Team CNT, looking at the kill feed, this is absolutely what drives the pace of the game. So far, it looks like World Tier is in the lead, and they are still exiling. Look at that disruption coming out from Flaming Dragon. They have landed on an absolute hotbed, and Flaming Dragon takes out another squad wipe for their team. This is absolutely huge for Team World Tier, and Nemo, Dworky, and Nigel better have a plan to make this up because the gap is growing, Clay.
Yeah, that is a massive start for Flaming Dragon. And look at Nemo trying to hit some highlight shots from across the map. CNT definitely still feeling good about this, but looking at the kill feed, World Tier is also feeling great. I mean, this is the type of action that decides the game. Flaming Dragon has no fear at all going into such a tight contested game and still playing his aggressive WP style. That is what we like to see as player 2 gets a drop onto World's Fastest Dad. 32 people left in the game. No aces now in our perspective. And this is the key camera angle. What is World Tier doing to rotate into this map? When will they find CNT? When will they fight Wind Goes Burr? Those are the matchups that matter in this game, OSK. The scorecards are crucial, but what really counts is when these teams get exiled and by who.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, Nash better be on his way to pick up that epic amulet there, as he is running conduit, and every little bit of mana he can salvage for his focus mana, and the lightning build with potential energy and power surge will definitely be in his favor here. Now look at where they're positioned here. This might be lucky off the drop. It might be a quick rotation, but Timberend is where they are currently at, and that is exactly where they need to be for the rotation of this zone. There is nowhere close that they can run to that will put them out of the zone, so they have all the time in the world to reposition themselves and to take control of this big zone from any incoming squads. And we see in the kill feed, Wolf going to go ahead with the three-peat, or actually looks like Chris picked up one, but that is still 3 exiles going the way of Team Wind Goes Burr. So we still have Team World Tier in the lead so far with 6 total exiles, and really we'll have to see how these rotations play out. It is almost a luck-based game right here, where you have to have all the squads coming out. You have to have the correct rotations going your way, and it looks like Chris, Wolf, and Ashen Frost looks like they are going to go ahead and get the better part of this rotation. They're currently in Himwood, actually. So if World Tier wants to go towards the eastern side, if they want to navigate a little bit onto this mountain, this might be a deciding fight coming in for the late game, or the mid game rather.
But any of these fights can be deciding, and that is what is so insane about the composition of this match. Crisp takes a huge shot in the back, has to look for his potions immediately. Thankfully, he has a lot of those safeguard potions to help him regen just a little bit, but they're not backing off completely, OSK. They want to take this, and they are just beaming down the front side of this member. Look at the comms as these teams just wrap around this one player, and Sharp Cheddar just pushed too far. Wendigo's Bird just showing off their communication by blowing up that target, and now Crisp is the focus of attention, takes a quick flight rune, bounces back onto the next target. This is some amazing trio gameplay right here. This is some coordinated fight as Ouchers falls too, and there's just one more player remaining. That will be the disrupt onto another gamer, and that is actually a different team, I believe, because that was a pickup, or at least a res nonetheless, and this is going to be a wrap-up. Looks like the rest of Wind Goes Burr will finish off this squad, but Very Crisp is not getting as clean of an exile. We thought the fight was over right away, but now it's getting dragged on just a little bit longer. Nonetheless, Ashen Frost sniping through and finishing off the kill. Counts 3 kills to him, but the team all benefits.
Yeah, and you can see the vibes coming out from Ashen Frost, just landing all 3 of those snipes coming in. And now we see CNT. Finally, they're in a little bit of action here. This is exactly what they needed. Now they just need the better part of this engagement. Nigel going to opt to go away for right now. He will... Oh, he's actually separated from the rest of his team here. That's a little bit bad in terms of sticking your neck out for the rest of the squads. This might be a separate engagement, or it might be the same squad. I can't really tell, but they might have 2 squads to contend with, and Nigel's looking very low. They need to be very careful. Team LKS will go down to Dwerky mixed with Not Blank. So that is going to be SDK and CNT both picking up a little bit of score from that engagement. Still, World Tier is in the lead with Wind Goes Burr with a close second. So we'll have to see how these exiles play out and how the rotations really play out as well. We have Team World Tier in a bit of an engagement here. Flaming Dragon trying to lay down some stone damage and some long-range Toxic coming out. And it looks like they are trying to defend this bridge. A little bit slow of an engagement here. They need to be very careful of any teams collapsing from the south. But as long as they keep their comms up and their awareness, they should be okay in this tower. We'll have to see how it plays out, but this is very, very close.
Yeah, it is close for sure. Now look at Knack just taking his high ground, as you mentioned, looking to just pepper out the damage, throwing down lightning bolts all over. But it looks like they're actually getting jumped on. They focus fire the new target as World Tier just doing yet another great job of communicating for these fights. This is a trend in all the fights we've seen so far. We just saw Wind Goes Burr do the same type of thing. Focus firing the person who dives into the back line. Such great team coordination, and that is the type of play you need to succeed in these qualifying events. Now we're looking over at CNT once again. Nemo disrupts player 2, which is massive. If SDK falls, it is yet another contending team going down. Nemo is bloodthirsty, chasing down this player through the window, looking for the air shot, goes for the quick flick, walks through a firewall. Now he's taking tons of damage in trade, but he's just getting bursted. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Not Blank turns that fight around onto Nigel, and the rest of CNT is going to have to do what they can to recover from this situation.
All right, Dwerky should have an okay spot to go ahead and res. Notice that he does not get interrupted when he takes damage on the res, so that will be free right here. Now, Nigel, I don't know where the disrupted member of Team SDK is, where Novin is right now, but you can see in the kill feed, Wolf is also getting another exile, so that might be another full squad wipe for team Win Goes Burr. I can't really tell from what the kill feed's telling me, but that is something to keep in mind. Now Dworky's going to go ahead and take out Novan, and that is a huge step forward for Team CNT. That is one member of Team SDK taken out. So we'll have to see how that plays out here coming into the late game. That's a big, like I said, big advantage for Team CNT. And now look at the positioning coming out. They do find themselves in a bit of a third party here. They are the third partiers, but now the action is being driven over to their side of things. Nigel has a target close by, but he is getting rained on by all of these toxic sprays. So it looks like he'll opt to go ahead and engage onto this low opponent, actually into the next zone as well, opting for the high ground positioning, but the secondary strike is going to prevent him from doing anything immediately. The Frost coming out, not going to connect, but he is collapsing very, very quickly onto this teammate plays. This might just be a Bogmore bloodbath, my friend.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for. As the final circle starts to constrict these teams, Nemo does disrupt Quados, so CNT has not stopped the fight. Even though Nigel is now down to his last blessings, looking for it, the Fortitude pops just in time to save him from that fireball. He may have been almost just 1 HP, but the Fortitude blocks him out of taking that. Nigel will survive, and the rest of his team is going to try to recuperate themselves and get ready for the final fight. Remember, there's still 15 people left in the game. Tons of action to be had, and third parties are available all over. It does look like the team of CNT has secured the baseline loot that they need to fight. That has to be a good feeling for them. They're not desperate to look for more spaces to find loot. Wolf does get a kill into Corrupt, so we know Wind Goes Burr is also looking for scorecards in the end of this game. But OSK, I could not ask for a better game 8. All 3 of the teams that are in contention are still in here. I believe World Tier is somewhere around the side corner. Although SDK did fall, or at least everybody but Blank fell, they have the chance of maybe pulling off a crazy moment. It is still up to these 3 leading teams to make the decisive kills.
Nice.
Nigel hits a nice snipe, and another follow-up snipe for 52. He knows that player is low, and let's see if he can go finish off the assassination.
Yeah, and it looks like this might be exactly what he does. Accidentally gets blocked off here, and it looks like this might be a team Wind Goes Burr that they are engaging right now. It looks like Wolf's Skin, so we'll have to keep an eye on what exactly is happening here in the later parts. I don't know who this player is, but it looks like it is Wolf. Wolf is going to go down so early, and now we have a 2v3 against Team CNT and also Wind Goes Burr. This has to be very Crisp coming out right here, and Crisp is going to go down to Dworky. This is absolutely huge. Team CNT taking up a nice advantage here. Going to get sniped, but that's okay. He's got recovery. He's got shields. That is completely fine. Now we have Flaming Dwagon going to go ahead and take the action on the other side of things. Not exactly the squad that they were fighting, and Nemo is going to go ahead and take out Wolf a second time, so there has to be some reses coming out from Ashen Frost. Keep an eye on the kill feed here as Ashen Frost is going to go ahead, and that actually wasn't Ashen Frost, that was Yogi. This is completely another squad. They are getting third-partied. Ashen Frost staying in the wings, not quite poking his head out just yet. He is staying alive for Team Wind Goes Burr. It will be interesting to see if he goes ahead and tries to get any sort of res off. And now we see some Toxic Clouds coming out, a little bit of a Toxicologist action coming out, and that is a nice fireball coming out from Nigel, and that's a nice finish for Dworky onto player 2. That's Team SDK getting a little bit overconfident with their position there, and now it's 1 member left for SDK to finish out. Dworky going to go ahead and thirst player 2, and this might be the end of SDK's run, but we have so many more squads in this conversation plays. I need to catch my breath. This is too much action for me as no ace goes down. Nigel going to go ahead and pick up the disruption plays. Not Blank as thirsted Yogi. What else could happen? What else could go wrong for this engagement?
Well, Nigel is abusing his W key right now. Look at this pressure. Has he stopped moving? Ashen Frost hits a flick, and that is massive right there. Wind Goes Burr has all of their hopes trapped on Ashen Frost. Can he somehow pull out the miracle clutch? Not Blank does take down very Crisp, so that's the last member of Wind Goes Burr other than Ashen Frost still alive. It is a confirmed 1v3 for him, as we see CNT did manage to pick up Nigel. Dworky managed to get himself back there, but look at that. Ashen Frost goes down. That's the end of Wind Goes Burr. They're out of the tournament. Now it is just up to CNT to try to clutch this. Nemo does take down no ace, and now we have a 3v3v2 to decide game 8 and quite possibly decide the event. Nigel spots him out, misses the last air shot, goes for the follow-up, but doesn't quite connect, and his opponent is on him. The boulder misses by pixels, but Lanky Simu still finishes off Nigel. We have a 3v3. It looks like as Dworky is going to get popped up. Nemo now looking for an angle, trying to get the toxic snipes, bouncing himself back just in time to avoid the blown up cloud. OSK, this is an insane final circle. Dworky gets disrupted. One more member of CNT alive. Nemo finishes a kill. He's the last hope for CNT to turn this event, but he gets pumped.
Oh my
This
goodness!
is a 3v1 to decide the last of the game. One player remaining, but No Ace is low. Not playing finishes him off. It's a 1v1 to decide the final match. No Ace is just one shot. He's going for the res.
Ooh. A little bit suspect on the decision there, but it looks like SDK, I believe, is going to go ahead and take game number 8 on the one remaining member. So keep in mind, we will have to take a look at these exiles coming out because nobody in our front runners, except for SDK, got first place. So that, oh my goodness, that throws a wrench into the whole thing. It's really going to come up to how much damage everyone had and how many exiles, because there is not that much separation coming up from first, second, third, and fourth place. Now, we will get those scores out for you very, very quickly. I have no idea what the finishing scores might be. I have no idea, Plays. This was so close. Can you offer any advice? This is so close for me.
I
have no
honestly
idea.
think CNT was able to pull it out there. I mean, they did have the separation from the other teams. And the thing, ladies and gentlemen, to be watching for in this situation is damage score. That is what will decide it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still a little bit tilted. I can't believe that they went for the res right there. I thought he had it, but it just comes down to those pressure moments. And this is what the definition of competitive Spellbreak is. Can you perform when the pressure's on? And No Ace made a questionable decision, but he was playing fantastic up until that point. Got to give credit to everybody in that final circle. What an event we've had here today. OSK, we're just going to burn a little bit of time while we wait for the scores to get finalized. We will make sure to show you guys those final scores as well. Also, I wanted to address another thing. I mentioned during the game in chat that I would be looking for the teams that have already qualified. Unfortunately, I cannot give you guys that information 100% yet because all we have is the first place finishes, and we need to get all the scores in to fully consolidate the list. What I will do is provide it to you on Discord after this event is over when I'm not casting. I'll write up a quick list to show you guys. I can tag anybody who is interested, but let's get back to the game itself because OSK, that was a banger for game 8.
Absolutely was. And CNT did everything right in that engagement there. They didn't end up getting first place, but sometimes it's just not possible with the amount of teams that we have here and also the skill level that we have in the lobby. They were doing such a good job at taking the outer wall of Bogmore there. And no matter what they were doing, they always made sure to stay off of that last little bit of ground there, off of the low ground from the tower. And they were always rotating back to where they could safely pot up, safely get back their health and their shield. And also, we saw how quickly they were on rotating off for the res. They were so great at reading the other fights that were going on that they could quickly separate out, get a member off to go ahead and res. Meanwhile, the third member is still raining down from above, keeping the illusion that they are still strong and steady on the tower. So that's really the story of this entire thing. They took the outer wall, they fed it to their advantage, and sealed out quite a number of exiles. But that is not to say anything bad about any of the other squads that we had here. Team World Tier, Team Win Goes Burr, and the winning team, Team SDK of game number 8, really showed themselves such a great path to victory. It's going to be very, very close in these standings here. I do think that Team CNT will take it out in the end, just due to the sheer amount of exiles and damage that they were putting down. But it's really anyone's game at this point. This is so close.
Yeah, it certainly is anybody's game. And I gotta say, the most enjoyable matches in this type of event, when the scores are this close, OSK, we can point to so many different things as game deciding because there's so many micro movements in these games that really change the entire complexity of each score from each game. We saw player 2 drop a 10 bomb. Let's say he didn't do that and those points went to a different team. Maybe that completely changes the trajectory of this qualifier. This was a game of steps. Every single match mattered. Every single play mattered. We are about to see the final result. Just 1 or 2 more minutes while we make sure all scores are finalized. In a match like this, we have to double count every single little detail to make sure we don't mess anything up. But in terms of predictions, I'd like to say that CNT did enough to take first right there, but I can't say that convincingly because they had 2 games that were super low score, and those are going to get removed. And we'll see what gets removed from the other teams because that is how it's going to really come down to the final 1, 2, 3 placements.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very close. And it's not going to be a matter of hundreds of points or for one scenario that we saw 1,000 points. This is going to be tens of points, single digits. This is so close. We have exiles, we have damage that we need to keep track of. Placements are not everything in this format, and you need to be ready to perform no matter what you have. Now, it's going to be very, very important to still realize that we have 6 out of the 8 games counting. So if you didn't have the best showing for 2 of your games, then those are completely out of the conversation. It's only your best 6, and that might be what carries some of these teams to the higher standings. But we're about to have those final scores up ready for you. And of course, right before we go ahead and show you that, just keep in mind that if you would like to, it is a very nice thing for you to do. We do have a donation box down below. 70% of your donations will go towards the prize pools, of course, sponsored by Proletariat this time around, but it will just be purely your donations. 70% of them. The rest of it, the 30%, will go to increased production quality. We'll get that jersey out of Player Safe, get it out of his background here. We'll get him a nice green screen, get him a nice front light so we can see his beautiful face. And of course, it'll also go towards paying the beautiful staff members that give you all the graphics, the beautiful little. Well, I guess graphics is the word for it. I'm too excited for this. Let's go ahead and show these final scores. Play safe. Break down these scores for me once we have them up.
Let's pull them up, ladies and gentlemen. So in first place, it is CNT taking it home. But in second place is SDK. That might be a surprise to some of us at home. The counting of this really came down to it. Third place is World Tier by 2 points. I have never seen such a close final set of top 3 scores. OSK, what is going on here? 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're just down to the wire.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, that's a bigger separation from first and second than I thought there would initially be. That's over 100 points of separation. Absolutely staggering what Team C&T was doing on the EU side of things, keeping up the consistency between all 4 of these games in the second half. And we have SDK and World Tier barely edging out as SDK by 2 points. That is the importance of getting that early damage on the early exiles. That pop-off game from player 2 might have just sealed them out that second place finish. In fact, I bet it did. And you have to imagine all the effort that went into this. That is such a fitting score to end up with. So close are the top 4 teams. Toxic Souls out here holding down 5th place. You played against some of the best teams in the world. Definitely nothing to hang your head at. Hopefully you'll be right back in scrims so you can get a higher placement here in some of our next events, as well as the other 5 teams that are not on your top 5.
That is absolutely absurd. I cannot get over these top 4 placements. Ladies and gentlemen, GG's all around. What an event we've had. We're going to show you guys a couple more screens with stats and all the included details of the scoring. You guys can see all of those who get the highest exiles damage and the rest of it. Also, if you guys want to see this for a better and longer look, make sure you press !scores. All of this information is available to you guys. But as we look at it on the screen here, this has just been a wire performance. It did get taken home by C&T. Looking at the total team damage, you can see how it all got broken down as you see the rest of these scores come up. This was just a nutty event, but I want to talk about the narrative of C&T coming out after a long break from competitive Spellbreak, shaking off the rust in a couple of those first games, and then just popping off to take home the event.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to lie, I did not expect them to win this tournament. I thought that they would be a little bit rusty from the early days. We haven't seen them in competitive play in so long. I thought that Team Wind Goes Burr, World Tier, and SDK were really going to show them what the new guys on the block are all about. But they still prove that the old people still have it. The old men still have it in themselves to bring out a W here in this time and age. The average placements are a little bit lackluster, but the damage and the exiles are unmatched. The only one beating them out is going to be World Tier on the single game highest exiles. Those stats do not lie. And you have to think, coming into the finals here, if they do end up qualifying, we don't have the final say as far as what qualifying teams will be up to this point. We still got 3 qualifiers to go, but if they do end up making it, it is going to be a barn burner coming into the finals coming up here in December.
Something I want to quickly address before we wrap up the rest of this event was every single team was competitive in this event, OSK. Even the teams that look on this screen have low total team damage percentage, they were still competitive. Every single team was able to get exiles, get placements. This was such an all-around qualifier. We love to see it. Although it did come down to CNT clutching up, taking the final W's to win themselves this event, it was an all-around performance from all teams involved. SDK did manage to squeeze out that second place finish. We'll see how this all plays into the final qualifiers. Remember that it's only 10 teams who get into that final 1,500 money pool. We'll see exactly who can confirm those spots. But right now, it's looking highly contested after Quali 5.
Absolutely. There are 3 more entire qualifiers to go. And, it really begs the question, who is going to rise to the occasion and prove that they can do better in their pool than some of these teams like CNT, SDK. We have UT from qualifier number 1. We have Haunt from some of the other qualifiers. This is going to be just so close as far as who can really show up to the table here. And look at that player total exile here. Even though his team got second place, player 2 rocking the total exile record for today. So you just love to see it. Even though your team might not finish first, you can still individually do well yourself and have a nice little pop-off game of 10 exiles that we all love to see in game number 2. Now then, as we are going to go ahead and wrap up this event here, guys, this has been an absolutely great experience. Y'all have been great in chat, of course. And it's really, really my pleasure to go ahead and get this $30 over to Team CNT for winning their qualifier. And of course, if you would like to contribute to that, you always have the donation box below. It's right there. 70% goes to prize pools, 30% goes to your lovely casters here and nobody else. Just kidding. We have production teams and everybody. So thank you guys for joining in. We're going to go ahead and pass it off to a nice little raid here pretty soon. And we'll see you here. I will see you here personally here tomorrow for Sunday. I'll be with Crashy. Play safe. Do you have any parting words for these lovely people here?
No, I got nothing left, my friend. This was quite an event. I'm fully done talking about this. I'm done wasting your guys' time with my chatter. We are going to send the raid to Bastion LMAO. One thing, though, that we do want to talk about is the return of the legends. That is the message of today. CNT is back, baby. The rust is coming off, and they are here to dominate. Still a great performance from all teams involved. Let's go show Bastion LMAO some love. He's a great member of the community, just like all the rest of you beautiful people. Hope you have a great weekend. And like OSK said, hope we can see you guys tomorrow for the qualifier number 6. Thank you very much.